responded in 4 minutes. That's a corpse to
Um,
me.
I remember reading here in the group chat that it was raining earlier today, so I
I think
hope
it's
he's doing
still
well.
raining on them now.
Yeah, it's
Oh
terrible
boy.
if that's the case.
You don't know he can't survive that.
If I am correct, we should be live.
Wonderful.
Let
Uh,
me double check that.
so Shy,
Yeah.
one of the I am very fascinated by some of the Dark Souls bosses that you find, and I'll quickly go right back to that after I just briefly explain which the one that I came up with. I decided to call it Power Rangers Espionage because they're all based on spies, including but not limited to Carmen Sandiego and Waldo. The particular gimmick that they have, like most of the Power Rangers have gimmicks. This one's is that they actually have an out of suit power and an in suit power that is generally reflective of the kinds of spies that they're. Waldo, Carmen Sandiego. I have Austin Powers not as an initial member of the team, but rather the comic relief that eventually gets his own superpowered suit and acts a lot like uh, Tuxedo Mask from the Sailor Moon series, if you're familiar with that character. Then there's James Bond, collectively known as Metal Gear Solid. Not
You
any
said
particular character from Metal
James
Gear Solid.
Hunt, correct?
Bond.
Bond. No,
James
I'm
Bond. Okay.
I'm mainly sticking with the fictional people.
Okay.
I don't want to expose actual spies that still may or may not be out. No. Nancy Drew. One. I'm thinking 1, 2,
Agent
3,
47
4,
be one of
5.
those.
That's a hit,
Agent
man.
40.
Fair enough.
You can hunt.
Thought I.
Is Thomas getting shaky for anyone else but me?
Oh
No, he's
no,
getting shaky.
Thomas has completely died.
Oh god,
Well,
robot
I'm
Thomas.
gonna be very useful.
It's probably because
I'm
it's
gonna be.
raining today and it's messing. Because I know my internet's messing up as well.
Listen, it's gonna
I'm gonna
be
be very useful in the
Warehouse.
next couple of hours.
Warehouse.
Thank you, Brian.
Did you say Wham House?
Warehouse.
Yes. Azure has a dream one day that we'll just bunk together and create a content house, like all of the great content houses that have lasted the test of time.
I don't
Yeah,
think a
definitely.
single one of them has lasted the test of time.
Offline
That's-
TV still going strong.
Who?
Wait, is that
Offline
TV show still going?
I don't think it's a TV show. I think it's just a house.
Yeah, there's a TV show based on a TikTok house. Like it
Oh,
follows
my.
a TikTok house. It's on
I
Netflix.
know nothing of what you.
Oh my.
It's insane.
That sounds not as bad as gamer compound complexes, because those got elaborate. But that just kind of sounds cringy.
It is very cringy.
It needed a receptionist. And like, interesting.
Um,
What one's called?
I'll do my best to maintain somewhat consistent connections.
You sound a lot better now.
Thank you. I believe turning off my laptop removed a lot of the shared bandwidth it was stealing
Alright.
from my shit.
I had to rearrange the tweet, but good news, it is now twitted. The tweet
Excellent.
is now in the ether.
And tweet is for all to see.
And I've got a gif of Farquaad.
What the Farquaad?
What the
The
Farquaad?
Farquaad. Alright.
The Quad
okay.
Father.
Paid. Thank you very much, my lovely boss. I will now immediately deduct this from what I need to for my trip. No, it's just
Do
for
me
my
a
trip
favor.
this summer.
I have to use the restroom. If you guys could speak for a moment until I return.
We really needed a 10-minute countdown thing.
Well, listen, I didn't realize I had to do it until I hit start streaming, and then I had to fix the tweet. So you know what?
Get all
A
the
10-minute
time.
timer wouldn't have helped, probably.
Work, 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 senora.
Are you sure?
Did I miss?
I don't see it
No.
online.
Oh.
Each.
Don't tell me I missed February.
I hope not.
Bruh.
I also do not see us on.
I don't think.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it does not look like the Oh, it's YouTube, right?
Oh,
Not
right.
Twitch.
We're on YouTube now.
I have to double check that real quick because I'm pretty sure I am following WAMM on YouTube.
Yeah, there we are. We're on YouTube.
There we go.
Just like how Shy's picture is.
Very beautiful. Excellent. Excellent profile picture.
Oh. So does anyone have any pre-talks before the talk?
Of course. So I actually am just gonna continue our conversation about Power Rangers, mainly because I just wanted to talk about it. Maurice, I'm sure both you and I have very similar origins. We started watching the moment they decided to bring the Mighty Morphin series over to the Americas. What was that? Early 1990s?
Yes, it was a
Like
long time
1992?
ago.
Great googly moogly.
It was. Yeah, I can get you the exact everything.
Excellent. While you do that, I'll just keep rambling on. So, Shai, one of the things that, more specifically 90s culture and not so much about a pop culture ever since then.
93.
93. Good God. I wasn't born yet. I was born 2 years later and then apparently saw all the episodes anyway. The Mighty Morphin series and more specifically Power Rangers as a whole, it is actually a fairly silly series, both here in our Western American version, but specifically more so as a Super Sentai version over in Japan. Because in all fairness and honesty, it is legitimately supposed to be children's programming. That is,
Oh,
yeah, under no misconceptions, that is supposed to be what it is. And it's much more apparent over there. But I can't remember who. I believe it's the Sabin Company. Yes, I believe when the Sabin Company got their distributed rights to make a Western version of it over here, they were like, yeah, but if we just up the edge and cool factor, a very popular thing to do from the transition from the 80s to the 90s, we could sell the shit out of these toys. No, I say that as if like Mighty Morphin was particularly grungy and edgy. It's not. It's still very campy. In fact, they still used a lot of the footage from the Super Sentai Japanese version of the show, and so the Yellow Ranger, for instance, looks much more manlyish and in line with the blue, black, and red Rangers because it was actually a male actor in the suit. And then most of the time, when they're out of suit doing their high school life as teenagers with attitude, as Maurice said earlier, it's a woman. It's Trini. Uh, so we grew up watching this sort of show that pretty much had the gameplay and flow of here are a bunch of wacky characters, usually teenagers, all color coded, even outside of the uniforms. Like the tops they decided to wear day in and day out represented their ranger color. And I'm gonna be real with you, if I just started seeing 5 random motherfuckers wearing the same colors as these publicly known town-based superheroes, I'd start to squint my eyes like Fry from Futurama and just go,
Especially
not
every time
sure.
you see them, they're just
Not
perfectly
sure.
color coded.
they they stand next to each other like they do. They all exhibit one unique. I say one unique quality. Here's another tangent on just how silly the initial Power Rangers were. So there's 5 colors, as you might remember from the movie that you saw: red,
Yeah.
blue, pink, black, and yellow.
Mm.
Red, blue, and pink, nothing really to write home about. They are colors that are generally not used in a oh my god, I can't believe you're this tasteless way. Black and yellow.
You
The
know,
original casting for this, for the Sabin Western Power Rangers, they decided to make a black man the Black Ranger. His name was Zach,
indeed.
and he could break dance really well. So much so that out of the suit, when he's fighting General Mooks, you could just see him doing the popular late 80s, early 90s dance moves of the time of the hip hop genre. And then there's
I have a question.
Trini, the Asian woman, as Yellow. Yes,
What's your question?
Does this mean that it is possible that if Snoop Dogg became a Power Ranger, he could in
absolutely.
fact just beat people up doing my favorite little Snoop Dogg dance?
I think they would go out of their way to make it happen.
I mean, fucking, there are memes made about it all the time of him beating people up while doing that. They all make me laugh.
Yes.
I have
They will go out of their way. They'll go out of their way to not only make that like some sort of attacking move, but maybe even include a gag where he just disarms maybe some high-ranking general of the enemy army by smoking him out, hand him a joint, and just letting that motherfucker get laid out.
I still think some of my favorite memes are just the like honestly really poorly edited, just taking someone, turning them to the side, and then moving them until they hit someone.
Yes.
Kind of like
I
what I
mean,
did when I
if
was
I'm not
editing
mistaken,
our the nun footage, and
yeah.
I said Maurice was being creepy, so I just had my little PNG self kick him. Just,
If I'm
no.
not mistaken, actually, that kind of movement was also exactly done in the Super Sentai series because a lot of their choreography and action were done with the classic filmmaking and TV show making special effects props like wires and such. So these guys literally would just be flying across the screen doing their things, all for the sake of children's entertainment. As
So, looking into this Power Rangers shenanigans, I've learned
yeah,
that Mr. Johnny Young Bosch has replaced uh
that's right.
Sir Vic Mignogna as Broly.
Who?
Uh,
Broly from Dragon
big
Ball
Yeah,
Z,
big buff dude that called Trunks Princess and Pretty in the abridged.
the legendary Super Saiyan himself. And my brain was like, damn, if only you weren't creepy, Mr. Mignogna, you'd still be loved today.
Hey, listen, he pays for his crimes. Something actually very interesting about these particular 6 cast of characters, but then also some characters introduced a little bit later in terms of actors and Power Rangers. These people become so culturally significant and influential amongst the youth that it then eventually to adults. Outside of if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3, most of the living Power Rangers from the Mighty Morphin series regularly gets work, are regularly recognized and actively celebrated when they come in for later parts of the Power Rangers series decades after their airs. Unfortunately, and I'm pretty sure this happened several years after she left the show, the actress who played the Yellow Ranger, the original Yellow Ranger Trini, passed.
R.I.P.
Something that was always a that was something that was always a sour spot. Not the worst sour spot. There's some worse sour spots. The original
Cool.
Red Ranger, the original Pink Ranger, and the original Blue Ranger, all of their actors still, again, see regular work. And often when it comes to conventions and stuff, you'll often see them as probably guests of honor. Uh, Jason David Frank,
R.I.P.
who eventually comes in to the Mighty Morphin series as the Green Ranger and eventually the White Ranger in the same series,
Black
just recently
Ranger,
passed.
then the
But he was the most loved, almost unequivocally. And there's several reasons why that happens. But let's start with the initial premise. Even the stakes are relatively low and simple because this is supposed to be a children's programming show, not to scar kids with the weight of the world. There's this evil witch that apparently lived inside of a well in the moon. She got released and says iconically, after 10,000 years, I'm free!
I ain't gonna lie.
Earth! And I'm like, yo, dog, why?
Her name was Rita Repulsa, and I was like, she ain't repulsive at all.
What is repulsive, of course, is her taste in world domination. I'm like, why Earth, though?
It's
You're
right
not
there.
nothing
What do you
here.
mean? It's right there.
There are bigger planets. You found
I
yourself.
took over. I took
You
over
found-
the moon. I want that
you-
one.
You found yourself. Go get bigger planets. Aim
No.
higher, Miss Repulsa.
Oh,
Especially
you-
after a gigantic head,
Can
a gigantic alien head
Can
decided
I-
to give 5 teenagers superpowers.
Can I
Yeah.
ask a question at the risk of sounding like a douchebag?
Of course.
Sure.
How long do
That's
we
your
plan to
risk to
talk about
take.
Power Rangers?
Until you came back and until you were ready to talk about tournament arcs.
I am so ready to talk about tournament arcs.
Sure.
If you want, again, I said at risk of sounding like a douche. If you want to keep talking about
Now,
Power Rangers,
ask-
go ahead. I'm
ask
gonna
properly.
ask. What do you mean ask?
You heard me.
I want you to define ask. Am I asking you for us to move on or asking you to continue?
Ask the question and find out if it's the right question.
I feel as though I'm being bullied, and my only way to stand up to it is not to ask any question.
Wrong answer.
Oh no! In the echoes of silence, of waiting for Kaiser to ask a simple question, I might as well keep about Power Rangers. I'm kidding. Now, what is?
I'm sure there's a tournament arc within Power Rangers that you can talk about.
I wish there was.
No, there isn't.
All these Power Rangers and they haven't won tournament yet.
Absolutely no way there was not a tournament in that fucking
No
Samurai arc.
tournament
Incorrect.
arc.
Nothing within the show proper.
They never even fought each other?
They
They
have,
have, but not
it's
in a
not
tournament.
That seems like the exact kind of thing that the Samurai one would have.
That would have been cool, but they
It would have
didn't.
been actually amazing. There was
I was
one.
waiting for the Forever Red tournament.
There was actually a series that featured people training in the dojo, and of course, technically an evil dojo of for the enemy group as well. But there was no tournament settings. So there was none of those things. In fact, Power Rangers uses something that is not akin to tournaments, but serves the same world-building narrative function that tournaments do. That most of them are set in schools. Most of them, as I mentioned before, are teenagers, and therefore relate to the youth of any given time by just using this stock standard school setting that most of us are just colloquially familiar with nowadays. Even people, I'm sure, like Shy, who's never experienced a traditional school environment, knows of the school environment and doesn't have to worry about complex world building. Like, why is Rita Repulsa specifically attacking this town? If she wanted world domination, why isn't she attacking the whole world? No, don't worry about it.
Everyone else got some
We got-
actual guns.
We got teenagers who have to deal with schoolwork and an evil witch from the moon. We don't have time to worry about what the rest of the world's doing.
Well, then I think this is a great point for us to do the intro and get into tournament arcs.
Hopefully, just like tournament arcs, we get a surprise dark horse entry, known as Roz. We'll see.
He would fit the description of a surprise dark horse.
Because he's black.
No, because he's a shadow. You
Shadows are black.
racist. They don't have
Shadows
to
are
be
black.
black.
What white shadow do you know?
They're gray shadows.
True. He's cooking.
They're gray
Never
shadows.
seen-
What do you mean?
Yeah, gray, not white.
I never
seen
said
that
that they were white shadows. I said not all shadows were black.
Only shadows of color. Crazy.
I never said that they weren't all
Only
shadows of color.
shadows of
I
color.
only said they weren't all black. That's one color.
Let
For
us get started.
shame.
Not all shadows.
Let us get started.
All right.
You still recording?
I haven't hit the record button yet because we started talking about it.
We're going live
Yeah,
in 3.
Well, we're
I was
already
asking to
live.
make sure.
Am
I was
I
asking
doing
to
the
make
intro?
sure if the. Yes, you. Because you could be the tournament announcer.
Oh, do I? I'm not putting on a voice.
You don't have to do it.
lame.
I'm just messing with you.
Don't call me lame. You're
Are
lame.
you ready? Give someone
No,
a
no.
countdown so they can do the announcement.
I
Ten.
Or the intro.
I'm just gonna. I'm the one that can see the button. It's fine. I don't need a
3,
countdown.
2, 1.
All right, Wham Jam. Don't laugh as I start the intro. It's Wham Jam 33. Tournament.
No, I
Anyway.
thought Thomas was going to do it.
I thought that we said I was doing it. Yeah,
Yes,
fine.
I
Thomas,
did
you take
say
over.
Kaiser
Thomas,
was
go ahead.
doing it.
Go.
Yeah, I got
That
it.
sounds foolish.
The recording. I'm not restarting.
Come all Wham listeners, both from the VODs and even here on YouTube. Say hello, YouTube. Hi, YouTube. We are Wham. This is our first time actually streaming here on YouTube. Normally we would be streaming on Twitch, but we'd like to see if we can always reach out and grab the most amount of audience possible. This week we are actually going to be talking about tournament arcs, and more specifically the very structure behind a tournament as a piece of narrative writing. Most of us here are writers and or enjoyers of things that are written. And one of the things that is so fascinating about tournaments is that if you're a fan of sports or of anime or various other things in between, you kind of know what you're going for in a tournament. And I find that concept really fascinating. Joining me, we have our lovely shadow person in the Cubone helmet, Maurice. We
Wow.
have the token white man of our group, Kaiser.
God, I wish
And
I
in
was
this
more cool.
corner, and in this corner, we have Space Elf, but more importantly, lovely person that will be joining us today, Shy. So, with that, let's get started.
Tournament on.
I know
Tournaments.
no one could see me, but I was waving.
Yes. I actually wanted to start this off by quoting, and I put this in my own air quotes, by paraphrasing and quoting a little bit of a content creator here on YouTube, named Totally Not Mark, when he was covering, if I'm not mistaken, episodes of, it's not episodes, but rather his technically own unique video where he covered the idea of what if Akira Toriyama of Dragon Ball decided to write out a full completed version of the 23rd World Tenkaichi Budokai in the context of the Dragon Ball series. That is their world martial arts tournament where various characters of Make and Shape get together to try to prove themselves as world's strongest by their own tournament rules of you stand in a cubic ring or you stand in a cubic area and you try to just knock the other person out. It's fairly
Or
simple.
knock them out.
If it's
Or not.
if it's a square, it's a ring. Really, if it's
Even if
something
it's
you
a square,
fight
it's
in,
a
it's a ring. It's a boxing ring and it's a square.
True.
They
which is
literally
weird.
call it the squared circle.
That
All
is
these
what
squares
all these
make a
squares make a
circle.
circle. I'm glad we could fit in as many Dragon Ball.
I would rather if
My
we
point-
stopped referencing Dragon Ball.
My point is that in that video talking about the importance of why that was a thing is that Akira Toriyama made tournament arcs for his very first original series, Dragon Ball, and it was something that helped escalate it from the almost point-by-point adventure and episodic adventure that it was into something that was a little more cohesive, as he was able to put all of his characters in one space and mainly just focus on character interactions and things of that nature. Is one of the things that we kind of have already, as a cultural zeitgeist, come to expect from a tournament, where that sure, we're going to get our heavy hitters or normal faces, but we're also going to get new characters possibly introduced for the first time, and we're going to get some sort of adversary that everybody, or at the very least our main characters, want to overcome, and we get to see all of the fascinating character interactions that come from these scenarios. Is there anything else that anyone want to add?
I would like to add that not all tournaments are bracket based. Now they normally end up going to bracket based, but one of my favorite tournaments came from Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually in the Battle City tournament, where this rich man bought a city and shut it down for a card game tournament.
But I mean, you're just referring to everybody scrambling around grabbing
Yep.
the MacGuffin plot part of it? But wouldn't that be accurately described as just a round where everybody's just, or even a free for all section of the tournament?
I believe
Yeah,
the word
it's
we
a
lost
part of
there
the
was round
tournament.
robin.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's a part of the tournament before you get into the normal bracket system. Which is always nice to have. Like another one that's recently happening that's not technically a tournament, but it feels like one, is the current arc in Blue Lock, where it's 3v3, you lose, they steal a person. Now you go down to the 2v2s.
Ah, yes. Yeah, I can't remember what they called it in the show proper.
But yeah, that has the great feels of a tournament arc, but a nice, refreshing way of mixing it up.
Kaiser, you were about to say something as well.
Most tournaments are crap.
Really?
Yep.
Are we talking? Obviously, since I did lead in that we're talking about them using narrative writing, are you also talking about tournaments in actual life as well?
No, real life tournaments are great, but tournament arcs have gotten to the point of the beach episode. It almost seems like the reason why almost all of the examples you guys have given so far are animes is because of the fact that anime almost seems to have the need to do a tournament arc, no matter what the story is. And a lot of times, it's just... I understand that the first tournament arc in Yu Yu Hakusho...
The Dark Tournament.
No, that's not the first tournament. The first tournament is to see who's gonna become that old lady's fucking student.
Yeah.
And the
Alright.
second one is the Dark Tournament. The first tournament made sense. The second one doesn't make any fucking sense. They just want to murder each other. And also, they're a team, but they don't fight as a team. Unless they do, but they don't.
Fascinating. So, let's talk at the particular point on.
Where would we like to start for this? Because I have many, many, many complaints about tournaments in general.
Yeah, but I'm trying not to take shots in the dark here. I want to get pointed. When it comes to the Yu Yu Hakusho Dark Tournament, many people do seem to enjoy the particular motivations that come from Karama and from EA in the transformation of their stories through this arc. You mentioned that, of course, most of these characters all want to kill each other. Is that necessarily a bad thing, in your opinion, for this tournament?
The writing of everything that happened in the tournament could have been done in a normal narrative. But they decided to force it into a tournament that then made it make an incredibly less amount of sense. Two of the competitors fought, and one of them killed the other in the middle of the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
How the fuck is that legal? Like, how are you gonna say to me, like, oh yes, this tournament happens every year? How many years in a row have you had two people kill each other outside of the ring? That seems like it would be a really big problem if, like, we got to the final round and the two people that are supposed to be the headline kill each other off, out of the ring. Seems like that'd be distinctly a big problem, so you should probably try to prevent that kind of thing, but you just let that happen. Also, Thomas, I believe I am loud enough that I am getting some echoing from your side.
Heh. Well, that's true. I do have to ask. This is a Demon Ran tournament.
Yeah.
Does our sensibilities towards fair play and even the
Yes.
the idea that yeah, I'd like to ask why that's the case.
All right.
I'll be a little honest. It sounds like the Mortal Kombat tournament to me.
The Mortal Kombat tournament.
Just as bad.
The Mortal
Just
Kombat
as
tournament
bad.
has to have you fight people outside of the ring in order to have you fight people. That's the whole point of it. Has anybody ever taken the Mortal Kombat story, even the movies, and actually been like, yes, I'm here for the plot?
When the new games came out, yeah, we all came there for a story.
What?
And yeah,
How?
Yeah, I'm about to say I played through 9.
I'm not
I-
saying you don't come there to play the story. I'm asking if you came there to find out the plot.
yeah,
We don't need
because
to get
they
into
actually
this.
put
This isn't
they
it.
put actual stories in
I know
that
they
ass.
didn't. They
Okay.
put very
They
thin
did.
lines to connect the fights.
I see.
If I'm gonna
So the-
literally fucking break Johnny Cage's balls and then be like, ah, yes, we're best friends. Literally seconds later, you can't tell me that the plot is gonna make sense. We argued, so I broke his everything. I broke his face. I literally ripped his entire spine out of his back. But no, we
Oh,
good.
until you hit
Hold
those
on, guys,
X-rays.
Let's then work backwards here, because I feel like then I need to hear what value you find in a tournament structure for narrative in the first place.
So you
And
kind
we'll
of
see why these animes don't, why these examples, even though both animes and Mortal Kombat and various others, do not fit into that mold.
Now, I do say most. And in fact, this isn't a backtrack. But the tournament arc, the Dark Tournament in Yu Yu Hakusho is good. I like that tournament. It's the fact that the tournament doesn't make any sense, though. And yes, it does make sense that the demons would want rules involved, because they actively have rules that you have to follow within the tournament. And if rules start to get broken, where do they stop getting broken?
When I say so.
Why would they allow, like, two fighters going outside of the ring and killing each other in the forest outside of the town? That's probably the worst infraction I could think of happening in a tournament. Like, I physically cannot think of something worse than that. Like, you could use guns in this tournament.
Probably the assault of tournament organizers. Mildly more.
Yeah, I
blowing
don't
up the
even know if I
entire
agree with
stadium.
that, because the demons are here to be entertained.
You just
Right.
blow up the whole stadium. There's the worst.
Being almost killed,
shit.
being almost killed may or may not be entertained.
Yeah, most of the Dragon Ball Z tournaments also don't make any sense, but the first one does.
Most?
Yeah, I think the first one makes
we-
sense. It's a kid trying to prove himself.
Oh, so
I
we're
mean,
talking
well,
specifically all of them from Dragon Ball up until recent. What is it?
Tournament of Power.
Tournament of Power. Oh, I can't believe I actually forgot that name.
God, the Tournament of Power.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I like the Tournament of Power for one reason.
mhm.
Someone spliced together all the fights to be 40 minutes long, and you get like 20 different camera angles, and I'm like, this is actually enjoyable.
I'll
You
be
can
honest.
see the whole 40-minute fight just straight out from beginning to end.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
So I don't watch Dragon Ball, so I can't sit here and be like, these are the things wrong with these tournaments. I'm just sitting here like, I've gotten a synopsis of these tournaments
Actually-
and why they're happening, and I'm just like, why though?
I'd love to hear the more personal experience. What are some tournaments that you do
Oh shit.
that you have seen? I know you've already talked about the Dark Tournament of Yu Yu Hakusho, but what else?
Like, in general, what tournaments have I seen?
Yes.
Obviously we're gonna
Outside
focus
of
on-
real life tournament.
obviously I know you have a lot of experience watching sports, whether it be combat sports or even technically the entire football season is a tournament, but I digress.
So we're saying entirely outside of IRL
the
stuff.
narrative tournament.
I have seen a large number of tournaments within books because, you know, fantasy books are one of my favorite types of books, and a lot of them do in fact have just tournament structures within them. A very easy example that I feel like a lot of people know about, not a book, but, you know, the movie A Knight's Tale is a Heath Ledger movie entirely about him as a peasant going through a whole bunch of different tournaments, jousting tournaments and one sword fighting tournament, which is illegal for him to do as he is a peasant, but he impersonates a nobleman in order to get money.
Get money.
And there are several tournaments he participates in. And a couple of, well, obviously other things happen within it. I find that movie to be incredibly entertaining. Obviously, there are tournament arcs at every Renaissance festival I go to, and that doesn't count as real life because of the fact that those are all staged. They can't really do jousting tournaments at most Renaissance festivals because of the fact that
they certainly couldn't do the Yu Yu Hakusho Dark tournament at your Renaissance.
Yeah, like there are. To be fair, jousting. How to put this? Jousting is kind of at this point a lot like professional wrestling. You have the WWE, which most people watch, that is entirely staged, and then you have things like Olympic level wrestling, which less people watch but is not staged at all.
Mm-hmm.
And the same kind of thing goes for jousting.
Yes. Look, one's a drama, the other one's an actual sporting event.
I would like to touch on a couple of these. First, I want to make sure, Shy, you have any thoughts to add about general tournament structures? In fact, as a person who's watched the Owl House, I know very little of it, but you know a lot of it. Wasn't there a tournament in that show as well?
Sorta, not really.
Hmm.
Luz and Amity did fight, but it wasn't a tournament. It was
Just more of a duel?
a duel, but it was rigged. Because Ida had beef with her sister. Ida being the person taking care of.
Makes sense.
In more tournament things, I'm more familiar with, like My Hero Academia, their tournament, and also, I get you. No, the one
We
where
count
the
the
guy
Hunger
has
Games as
the
a tournament, right?
Hunger
Yes.
Games is also a tournament.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
a battle royale tournament, but it's a tournament nonetheless.
That's true. Technically, all of the Survivor games that we talked about a couple of months ago, they're also tournaments. Just the more battle royale freeform kind of stuff.
They all share the same thing. One winner.
If we're so lucky.
Unless the real state otherwise, it might be a team-based one.
Now, Kaiser, coming back to you, of course, you've mentioned predominantly jousting tournaments. And given the kind of culture,
God,
bring
I
it
wish
up a
Thomas
lot.
was actually here so I could hear this question.
man, my router is in a tournament with a bunch of other routers.
I think it's
And the
losing.
rainstorm.
It's very, very losing.
It's raining outside. It's ruining our internets.
Until my router has officially tournament 02, I would like to hear more about the value you find in tournaments, Kaiser.
So, here's the thing. I think narratively, here's the issue with narrative tournaments. Thomas, you hit the nail on the head of what a tournament is good for. It gets a lot of people in the same space, and you have a lot of chances for interactions. The issue becomes when you put characters against each other, especially because most tournaments, some tournaments are not, but most tournaments are combat-based. A lot of times, it's not entertaining because you know what's going to happen. If you put two people in a room and you say they're going to fight, and the narrative is going to continue to follow the one who wins, and you have the main character and some schmuck I've never met before, that schmuck isn't going to win. I know it. You know it. We're going to spend 18 minutes, though, trying to figure out, like, how the fuck we're, like, losing, and then figure it out, and then it's going to win. And, you know, yes, that's kind of what a lot of combat ends up being if you really want to get down to the nitty-gritty of it. But it's a bunch of one-on-ones with a very basic set dressing a lot of the time, and it's relatively lazy in the tournament style of it. Like, one example I will give is, God, I hate the fact there's so many in anime that it's almost impossible not to pull examples from anime.
Most of them are in anime.
Yeah.
Thanks, anime, for making it easy.
But
Thanks,
like,
Akira Toriyama, more specifically.
Naruto has that, the tuning exams.
Big fight.
Yeah. In my opinion, the first 2 parts of the tuning exam were way better than the tournament.
You like the children killing each other in the forest, and the
I don't think any of the children
mini
killed each
tournament?
other. I'm pretty sure
Oh,
that
they
it was
were-
mostly
they were-
the adults that were there that were killing them.
They were trying to hurt each other to get those scrolls, but of course,
Listen,
the actual
let's be
danger
honest here.
comes
These children are
comes
throwing
from that
knives.
pedophile that was in the forest.
These children are throwing knives. Sasuke is literally breathing fireballs on people. Like, they're constantly trying to kill each other, but I don't think that they even realize they're trying to kill each other.
Gaara crushed the man to death. He knew what he was doing.
Alright, Gaara's Gaara.
That's true. That is Tyler, the creator.
English voice actor
only one
Liam
out
O'Brien. Of course it was. Of course he was trying to kill him.
Like, the only person out there wasn't trying to kill people was Sasuke. I mean, not Sasuke. Naruto and Sakura.
Sakura couldn't kill somebody if she did try. We would never know
That's
the
what I'm
difference.
saying. And Naruto, he wasn't trying to kill anyone. He just wanted a scroll. Sasuke, he was about to kill 2 people.
But yeah, I found the test fucking exam to be way more entertaining than most of the fights. The only exceptions were when we got people that weren't main characters, and that happens a lot of the time. But also, we have things like in in My Hero Academia. Yes, a lot of that tournament is good. The worst fucking fight though is Yaoyorozu versus. Was he against
He was in a match?
Yeah, Yaoyorozu fucking fought in one of the individual fights, fought against, I think it was Tokoyami? I think she fought against Shadow Man and just immediately got pushed out. It was...
Yeah. Thanks, Dark Shadow.
There wasn't a fight. Like, we have this bitch makes cannons. And she's
Not
like,
quick enough.
I have a shield. I got pushed out. God, I hesitated too much. And it's like, there wasn't even... What? And
He hesitated too much.
Yeah, I have to disagree with you.
all right, proceed.
The fight may not be all that impressive, especially in comparison to like Midoriya and Shoto, because that fight was spectacular.
Those 2 kids try to kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
But
The worst thing about, especially the tournament arc, is, for me at the very least, was the in-depth of the characters at their time. She did very much doubt herself, and that was a huge setback on her. It did it in depth of who they were, like Uracha and Bakugo. That fight was amazing.
But that's the thing.
because of
You have that
Uracha
fight that is also...
coming.
Sorry, I interrupted. Please finish.
Yeah, Uracha has no chance against Bakugo.
Biggest lie.
Uh,
That's the biggest lie
at
that show
least
ever
at
tried to
that
tell me. The
point-
person who can reverse gravity can't beat the person who makes explosions.
you
Hey,
can't touch
I
him.
mean,
I didn't touch.
A, she couldn't touch him, and B, reverse
Her-
gravity, he now just moves faster. Like,
Her Obi-Wan throw rocks at him didn't work.
Almost did.
Almost did, but didn't.
Almost
That's
did.
That
unfortunate.
man
But-
annihilated all the rocks.
Here's the
That means
thing.
that doesn't mean no Chaco can beat Vader.
Now, here...
Let's calm down.
We're not talking about that.
The Jedi Tournament arc. Darth Vader and Obi-Wan have
That Jedi Tournaments arc have happened in the expanded universe, but we don't need to talk about that.
We can.
But that's the thing. You have that fight as a prime example of they know how to do that kind of character interaction to have them go through like the emotional states, but they didn't put in any effort for the Yaoyorozu fight. Like,
Yeah,
that's
she
my big
didn't
complaint.
get
I
out of
understand.
that until later when she had to lead a team.
Yeah, the team of 2.
Yeah,
That problem got
but
solved
still,
literally
like-
the next time we got to interact with Yaoyorozu, and it didn't come up in the middle. We literally had a Yaoyorozu doubts herself. Now she's helping everybody study, but now they're in a fight again, and she's with Todoroki, and she's not doing anything, but now she will. Congratulations, Yaoyorozu, character arc. And it's like, you literally wrote maybe, like, this is like a 300-word character arc. How are you gonna sit here and act like this is major character? Like, the point A to point B, there's a lot that should happen there. You could not have cut out more for this part of a character's arc and still had people understand what was happening. And that's my issue with it. And that's my issue with the fact that her fight. She didn't have any, like, major moments of doubt leading up to that in the other portions of the tournament. And then the second she's in a one-on-one fight, the fight lasts 2-3 minutes. And it's just Shadow going poke, 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 push. And you're out.
I would have to rewatch it, but I was fairly certain that she was filled with doubt up to that point because she was, like, voted class president, but turned that down.
I thought she got voted vice president.
She was class president.
No, she didn't get
No,
voted president. Midoriya got voted president. He passed it to
Midoriya
Ida,
was president.
and she got left as vice president. She was sitting there like, what the fuck?
But I'm
Yeah,
the greatest. I'm rich.
I literally
Alright.
had the second most votes. Why am I not the best?
She also was introduced to the class as transfer to the advanced.
Damn,
Which
Lily
is
couldn't
also a
even
bit
be
of an
transfer
insult.
student one.
Oh yeah, they got recommended and everyone else to do a test. No, you're just in. I'm just in? Yeah, you're just in.
Now,
You're rich.
I would say one of the interesting things you've already mentioned before about general tournament structure arcs of main character versus schmuck.
Hold on, I'm
Is-
sorry. I
yeah.
also almost forgot the point I was trying to get to with the Naruto one. Everyone knows the Gaara Rock Lee fight is literally the best fight of the entire early series.
That is true. That is true.
Now, please continue.
Thank you. You've cured my heartburn just by reminding me that fight existed. More
Fucking
importantly,
nobody flexes harder than Rock Lee when he took off those fucking ankle weights.
No, I do kind of like the Naruto, but I'll get to things of that nature later.
Look,
One of the things that you mentioned before was, of course, the sort of predictability that comes in when it's like a matchup of main character or even relevant side character versus random schmuck that might just be there for I'm just here for tournament purposes and never anything more. We see there that in the My Hero story, because we're already familiar with all of those characters, it's hard for us to think of any of them as a schmuck. And it makes it even more displeasing then that Yaoyorozu written like a particular example. Because, of course, that whatever character arc that she does exhibit, even minorly here in the tournament, doesn't necessarily get resolved within the tournament. It's actually much more resolved later on with things of like them trying to take down the Paranormal Liberation Front and that raid on the complex. That involves also trying to stop Gigamantia. Things that are not a part of the tournament and doesn't happen for like several seasons onwards for those who are watching the anime. Some of the more well-defined tournament structures then do actually incorporate the thing that you find lacking in many poor executions of them. Many of them do try to act as self-contained stories that, for the most relevant characters on the board, do have full, complete arcs, deal with some sort of lesson generally imparted. This is actually the calling card that made, as you already referenced before, the very first Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi, I believe the 21st, and what the 22nd was all about as well. You were trying to say something, Shai?
Her arc of being more confident actually came a little bit more beforehand when she was battling Teachers.
The battle with the
And
teachers
she-
came afterward.
I thought
Yes, but it was
the
before the recent thing where they fought the paranormal front.
that's right. I thought it was also was the provisional license before the tournament or after?
After.
After. Okay, so yeah, the
She'd
fight with the
already
teachers
regained her
in general.
confidence by the provincial
entirely.
hero licenses.
Yeah, not entirely. She still
Not entirely.
struggled.
She
Yeah, she still
still
struggled with
even
the-
now struggles with.
She still struggles with the whole being a leader thing, and dealing with the high stress situations when Class A and Class B have their 5-round bout, and when the assault happens on the paranormal liberation front, and they technically all have to stop Gigomantia. Now,
Because she's too powerful to be allowed to just go at full power.
she is.
Oh yeah.
She is legitimately. Oh no, I have to get lipids, but I can make a nuke.
Not only is she really powerful, she's also ridiculously intelligent. She outsmarted someone whose quirk was super intelligence.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Got
be
it.
100% honest with you. Yaoyorozu is my favorite of the female characters in that show.
I respect.
And so it bugs me when they just, like... Also, she has a lot of fucking confidence in everything until they need her not to.
Yeah.
And she
She's
also has
generally
overcome her lack of confidence on several occasions, and they keep having her go through the same fucking arc, and I'm just like... Just let her, like, advance. You let Midoriya advance, he doesn't cry anymore. Now he's acting like some fucking... He's trying to act like a badass, and all I can see is a fucking child. But Yaoyorozu still has self-confidence issues. I know that's not something in reality that goes away, ever. But at the bare minimum, it can stop being a crippling anxiety.
I mean, it's
I
not
don't know.
crippling.
No, it's
You
crippling.
should get through it.
If it particularly happens during some of the most stressful parts of her life, then it is crippling.
And also, it is crippling because anytime this is getting off topic of a tournament arc, but it's one of the things that started to bug me about My Hero and why I stopped watching it. It's that it's one of the tools that they use in the show as an excuse to. So, a big thing with My Hero Academia, which is good, is the good guys don't always win. Like, the people who we have our POV characters of do not always win, and that's something when there is, when you want to establish high stakes, that is very much something you need.
Stakes.
However, the issue that I have is Yaoyorozu only loses when her anxiety acts up.
Hmm.
And every
Sounds
time
like
she loses,
college
always like,
students.
oh god, I have lost the ability to think and to function and to do anything, and I've lost. But then other times, she is just a fucking Giga Chad and just 87 mile. She's 4 parallel universes ahead of you. And so it just uses a repetitive excuse to be like, yep. No confidence, therefore she loses.
That's hecka relatable.
It is hecka relatable.
I think it would
That's why we
be
love her.
more relatable if it was constant or if she got over it. Like, I have a whole lot of anxiety. I have social anxiety, and I have a job where I fucking talk to people every single day. I get like 87 calls a day. I have to send out over 100 emails a day. I teach classes. You can learn to get over that stuff for an extended period of time. I gotta recharge. I need
Now
my
we let-
time away from everybody else.
Now we
But
show
I
this
can
man
fucking
the
do it when it's
karaoke.
important.
To show him the karaoke and he sings in front of everyone. Nope, ain't doing it.
we put a mic in his hands and his knees wobbling.
He hits the Yaoyorozu. Well, I failed here. It's over for me.
So
I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, All Might.
Get me drunk enough and I will sing.
So I think that what I want to look for then is a particular tournament, and I know that you don't want me to talk about Dragon Ball ad nauseum, but this is the last time that I will. There has been exactly.
For the record, I don't
the-
mind you talking Dragon Ball. I just don't feel like I can participate in the conversation because I just don't know.
It's fine.
I
It's fine.
feel bad.
I'll make it very simple because honestly, the very first Dragon Ball tournaments that Akira Toriyama introduced to a series were relatively simple. This is the thing that I mentioned before, and even that Totally Not Mark explains way more in depth in his own videos, so I won't try to regurgitate much here. But it's the idea that the very first tournament was a specific moral to be taught to Goku that he tries to keep for the rest of his life. The pretext is that he was already training with Master Roshi at that point, was already a competent and skilled fighter even before he learned martial arts, because he was just a random monkey child in the woods. He trained under with his best bald friend and of similar height at the time, Krillin, who was a little more cunning. And I know that's not like a shining praise, given that it was an actual rock of a child next to him as his training partner in Goku. But Krillin was a little more nefarious, was a little more to bend the rules, and that partially became of his own experience at the monk monastery he was at, where he was just regularly abused for being the smallest and weakest of the time. The first Budokai Tenkaichi tournament gives them both an opportunity to deal with things in different ways by virtue of their matchups. Both of them did actually have gag matchups. I don't necessarily remember Goku's as well as I remember Krillin's, and this is just a funny aside. There was this big dude that really, really stank. It was his entire MO to make the opponent discombobulated by having the most offensive BO possible.
Discombobulate.
At first, Krillin was not able to actually do well against this person because he also was a competent fighter. He wasn't just relying on a gimmick, but Krillin kept, getting affected by the smell until Goku helped him realize, Krillin, you don't have a nose. He's like, oh yeah, that's right, and then swiftly beat the shit out of him.
Right, I don't have a nose.
There's a
Damn.
minor gag. A more narratively important one was actually one against both of his abusive older seniors from that monastery that I mentioned earlier. During that match, he legitimately got to show for the first time in his life the power that he had now acquired to actually stand up for himself against these people, saw less of them, and consequently he also realized that he did not need to rely on those same dirty tricks that he had picked up for survival with the help and companionship of Goku and the tutelage of Master Roshi. Goku's problem is different. Goku's always been the strongest. Hasn't even lost, hasn't lost except one time prior to his training with Master Roshi. He was actually feeling fairly overconfident, and Roshi was a little bit worried about that. As a teacher, Roshi worried that his overconfidence and over reliance on just him naturally being the strongest, even with the little bit of training that he received, would make him lackadaisical and would make him cautionless when it came to pretty much anything in life, but of course when it comes to just general senses of discipline. So Master Roshi invaded the tournament disguised under the pseudonym Jackie Chun and participated in the tournament, getting all the way to the finals, where just by a hair he was able to defeat Goku, imparting the lesson, very importantly,
Get
that
wrecked,
you must
son.
always get wrecked, son, and then he, but that's a couple decades before that is ever a possibility. What Master Roshi generally actually says is this idea of you must always keep training, must always be on top of these things to improve yourself, because you never know when someone stronger may actually come by and threaten everything that you stand for, threaten your whether it be your life or the ones that you love.
And that became the entire motto of Dragon Ball. After you win, someone stronger is going to come and fuck your shit up.
Yeah, legitimately, Goku being known as a training fiend now and always focused on fights and always those are stronger than him. These are very, I gotta say, very one-dimensional and and hyper-focused interpretations of that moral that he learned from Master Roshi as a child, because he did not have such a thing to that degree back in the early parts of Dragon Ball, and it stuck with him, as you've seen, for the rest of the series. There's something, there's something to be said then about this Tenkaichi tournament being the one of not necessarily having our POV character like Goku just winning the tournament, because one, that may not have been the most entertaining outcome from a reader's perspective. We already know that Goku's the shit. We wouldn't be reading the manga page. We wouldn't be the manga pages if that wasn't the case. But more importantly, offered this entire tournament structure offered that kind of opportunity in a way that didn't really threaten anyone's lives.
I mean,
I know
till a
to
little
your
later.
point, I know that to your point, Kaiser, that one of the things about the Yu Yu Hakusho Dark Tournament, even though it was ran by demons who do not have the sensibilities and tournament structure etiquette, they still did have a rule system. They still did have a societal norm, and you felt that they those two particular instances went off and did their own thing outside of that norm, and to the lack of enjoyment of presumably everyone in universe.
Want to know a little fun fact?
Yeah.
Goku won one tournament.
Huh?
I mean, he's only participated in 2.5.
He participated in like 6.
All right.
Oh, we're talking all the tournaments, not the Tenkaichi.
All the tournaments. He
I see.
Did
won
he
a
not
single.
win the first one he was in?
Nope, Jackie Chan.
I just said that Master Roshi by a hair managed to impart the lesson on Goku that he takes with him for the rest of his life. The second tournament, he also loses.
Tien.
He also loses to Tien. And then in the third tournament, the third Tenkaichi Budokai,
He gets his
he
W.
does win because at that time Piccolo Jr. entered the tournament and was legitimately threatening everybody, both the people he loved and the world at large. And so Goku had to defeat him narratively, but it was still very satisfying.
Well, then he wins 2.
No,
Goku did not win the first nor second
Tournament
one.
of Power.
he didn't win that either.
What do you mean? Yes.
The
Elaborate.
team won. The team won.
17
won.
Right. That's a
So
weird
he.
sentence.
What do you mean? He
team
won.
17 got the wish. He was the last person standing, so he's the only one who gets the wish. He's the lone victor. Everyone else was eliminated from the tournament of power.
Yeah, I must say the tournament of power does feel a lot more where it's just like, yeah, but really it was homie right as the circle was like 2 and he had the shotgun the guy right in front of him. I've been dead several clicks away, shouting from the heaven. But I get it. It is technically Goku's win in that one.
Technically. But the way that the rules worked, 17 won.
17 even wish for.
Everyone to
17
come back.
for all
No
the
one gets
universe-
deleted.
Yeah.
Nothing. It was a tournament of
Oh
nothing
wow,
at the
nothing
end.
sandwich. That's never happened before.
Oh.
That's not satisfying either.
I was satisfied. That shit was fun. I got to meet some new characters. Got to see people get their ass beat. Frieza came back. I wish it was Cell. I still wish it was Cell. I love Frieza. It should have been Cell.
I love Frieza. I'm gonna be honest. That trained up slim Majin Buu, I was like, ooh, are we doing something here?
No, I
Nothing
don't
happened
like
there.
Boo. It should have been Cell. Cell would have made sense. It would have been great to see him come back. He wouldn't even have to stay evil. He could just randomly show up and just want to fuck up Goku. No, actually, more like this. Hey, I've won. So when do I get to fight Gohan? What? Me? Yeah, I want my rematch. Run that back.
Run the pass.
And
Now,
Tien
Kaiser,
Shan, get in here too.
You can help. Kaiser, you can do with this one. If we're going to talk about tournaments, I do think it's fair to talk about the, what I'll call the less effective executions of tournaments. And I think Fairy Tail has something that I'd like to talk about, but I'll need help with contextualization.
The Grand Magic Games?
I believe it was. He called the Grand Magic Games.
Mm-hmm.
Let's set that stage. What was the purpose of the Grand Magic Games again?
The purpose of the Grand Magic Games was to determine the strongest guild. And in the 7-year absence of Fairy Tail's most powerful wizards, the guild Sabretooth had basically taken over as the top guild with their 2 Dragon Slayers.
Yep.
Sorry.
Also, they started this event
More than a
after
zero.
as soon as the 7-year time skip happened, I felt like the king was like, we should host a tournament.
I believe it may have even been stated
Oh,
that it did so to
no!
determine who the strongest was after the loss of Fairy Tail.
Oh no, Fairy Tail's gone. I wonder who's strongest now.
Who the fuck are the strong ones now?
The Sabertooth guild showed up. It's we are.
Yeah,
I
it's
see,
kind
I see.
of what happened. They literally showed
I
up.
kind of felt really sad for Sting and Rogue in there because it just showed at the end of the day, y'all just can't beat Natsu.
Technically, they can't be Natsu or Gajil.
Gajil got pushed over and out of
Literally
there,
can't.
so that's true. But like, y'all double teamed him and y'all couldn't beat Natsu. This man laughed in y'all face.
Yeah,
That's true.
Like y'all had years to train. Y'all fucking had 2 things in y'all. Y'all had the Black Room and fucking Trained by Dragons. Y'all did y'all team attack, your unison raid. You blasted Natsu and he kicked you. Just kicked you.
yeah. That only worked because it was satisfying. Because Sting and Rogue talked so much shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not only that, it's like also like, all right, oh, what's this one? Since this thing ain't gonna work, Urza, you'll go in there and you'll fight how many? 4, 5, all of them, and then she proceeded to do it. Is that allowed?
Yeah, I
Yes.
guess so.
Who made
Especially
these
since,
rules?
especially since this feels like a more exaggerated version of talking between Tokoyami and Yararozu. Here's our main side character, and here are a bunch of schmucks.
They
Oh,
weren't
don't
even
worry, the bunch of smokes got
They
to play
weren't
the
even
hit the
schmucks who
hammer
were
game.
also there. They never got a chance, and that was. You see, that's a good way to do a. If we're gonna call Urza a side character, I guess she's only technically a side character, but like Urza's legitimate. What's their team name? What's Natsu's team's name? I can't remember. They had.
Natsu.
Is it really just called Team Natsu? It's a shame.
Yep.
Urza was literally the
Yep.
most powerful of them for the majority of the seasons.
Yeah.
Like,
That's exactly it.
probably
She
until
is
the
the
fucking
muscle.
7-year time skip, she was the most powerful. Well,
I mean,
okay, maybe after the fight with, God, what's his name?
Gajil.
No,
Not
not
Gajil.
Gajil.
Jalal.
Jalal.
Oz-
Maybe after the fight with Jalal, she was no longer the more powerful, most powerful. But even
Look,
during
she
that
could
arc, she was
still
the most
beat
powerful.
Natsu,
Is
but
she-
at the same exact time, she couldn't beat Natsu. It's like, oh, fun. It's she's gonna beat Natsu. If this is real serious, like Urza turned evil, Natsu's gonna beat the shit out of her.
Yeah, but, you know,
Well, I mean,
main
To save
character
her.
Now
energy.
we're-
To
no, I'm
save
saying,
her.
At that point, we're also entering the fairy tale storyline of: Are you evil? Yes. Are you fighting Natsu?
Yeah, but there's more in the tournament that's just like, really? So after Urza decided to beat all the monsters and get all the points to herself, selfish,
That
it was like,
that
here,
was
we're
great.
gonna
Don't
do
even
the.
fucking rag on it.
I'm gonna rag on it because I like to.
It's great.
It's selfish.
It's great.
So they pulled out this little orb, and it's like, all right, we're gonna hit this as hard as you can, and it's gonna give you a score, and then we're gonna rank you that way. So everyone hits it; they're all having their fun. You know, a lot of them suck. Some of them are Grand Wizard Saints. By some, I mean one. And then so you know, Mavis pulls out her cheat card. Here you go. You can use Fairy Glitter. Oh, I broke the machine. All right, so Fairy Tail win twice in a row. But wait, we ain't done because there's more people out here doing goddamn nonsense. Motherfucking Loxus, best fucking member of this entire guild. Love that man. Beat them up again. Beat up an entire guild single-handedly when everyone was watching an illusion fight. And he hit someone so hard they went through the illusion. I still laugh at that.
Literally beat them so bad they got kicked out. Don't even tell me
Like-
that it's because of the fact that, you know,
And here's the crazy part.
don't act like it was because of the fact that they cheated. Nah, they left because they did not have the capacity to fight him anymore.
Yeah, and here's the crazy part about Loxus. So everyone else unlocked their second origins with the help of Ultir, which was great, lover. Well, yeah. Loxus didn't. He just fucked them up. He was this powerful to start with.
Sure.
He is literally just built different.
Also, to be fair, neither did Urza. She decided not to and just unlocked it herself later on. Just, there we go. There's my power up. There's your power up. One, honey, you barely use magic. You summon magical items to you. Why did you need to unlock that to summon more magical items to me? Why are you like this?
Why are you like?
And then, you know,
One of the things that's kind of interesting about Fairy Tail's Grand Magic games, though, is that most of it is framed as comedy. most of it is framed with the sort of low stakes that we come to expect from more from some of the more comedic or even the people we think and have been taught by the story not to like worry about and stress over, like Loxus and Urza.
Yeah.
And then we get, Lucy over there sweating.
Lucy gets bullied. Lucy is bullied by the writer. The writer
Right.
does not like Lucy for some reason, and
'Cause
she gets
Lucy's
bullied a lot.
incompetent.
Right, but that's
I don't
also,
think I literally don't think I have ever seen Lucy win a fight.
She
wins, but it's
Win.
through either weird, goofy means, or she loses.
I'm trying to remember.
She has beaten more people by kicking them than she has with any of her fucking summons.
Yeah,
Did she?
unless it's
Doesn't she
Aquarius.
fight Flair in the?
She
Grand Magic
loses.
game?
Yeah, she
Loses.
lost.
Loses.
That's true.
Fucking- She got drowned.
That's true.
That was a different fight, but that also happened too
She got lit on fire and drowned.
in the same tournament.
Was Yukino or Angel
Yes.
ever her enemy?
The Angel was her enemy. She beat Angel. Yukino was not ever her opponent
Okay.
because Yukino got taken out by Kagura.
True.
But I think the best match in all of the Grand Magic games to me was Wendy versus Shelly.
hmm
Because
remember,
not only
yeah.
did you get to see Wendy's, she just being a little smarty smart. It was great to see two healers actually punch each other.
I'm a healer, but
I'm
Henry
gonna be
Cavill.
100% honest. Not a fan.
The healers punching each other?
I just wasn't a fan of that fight.
Why not?
These two fucking children punching each other. It's like, wow. I'm sure someone was hurt by this emotionally.
I mean, no, they both healed up.
Nah, exactly. It only hurt emotionally.
Not even virtually. They became best friends.
They did the thing that you always wanted to do: make a friend through punching it out of
Through
I don't think I've
violence.
ever wanted to be friends with anybody who I punched in the face.
it. Not yet. So far.
I even like Wendy's way of saving her own skin by healing Shelly so she didn't brace for the recoil correctly and it threw off her aim. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean, Kobe Bryant? But it
True.
worked.
Yeah.
You healed your opponent to throw off their aim so their shot, so their God Slayer Bella would miss you. Okay. Now how do you remove that health that you give her?
You don't.
Hit 'em
Start punching her
harder.
some more. Another cool moment was when they just start sucking down all the air, and it was like, okay, the air is actually getting thin here, and I'm like, yes, so you can eat all the oxygen in a room.
Correct.
You should do that more.
Incorrect.
Listen, this is fairy tale where we never find creative ways to kill. We find
Just eat all the air.
nom 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 delicioso. And you see here in the Grand Magic games, I remember that I believe her name is Minerva from
Yes.
Sabretooth.
Yes, Villain Minerva.
That she was. If the big guy was still around, it's hard to remember if big guy was around during the time of their introduction in Grand Magic game. She already took over.
Gemma.
Her father, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, he was
was there.
there.
He wasn't participating. I'm pretty certain.
No,
Yeah,
masters aren't allowed to participate.
Yep.
Although that would have been fun if there was just like a prelim of all of the guild masters.
Nah, he
doing
was
that.
That man can do fairy law. We're not fighting Makaroff.
It'd be fun. It'd be fun.
Actually,
just
I'm
trying to-
shocked that Loxus just didn't use fairy law.
Ichio was just turned him into.
He
into
just steps,
Mako
he
of Ichio.
literally hits everybody on all of the teams, just like, Fairy Tail wins, goodbye.
Yeah.
Fucking, I got a little salty when they was like, well, since Raventail's gone, I guess Fairy Tail has to lose one of their teams and merge them into one. Where the fuck does it say that in the rules?
I got to admit, yeah, most of the Grand Magic games structurally is just haphazard. And that was
Here's
part
the
of the
thing,
point of
though.
bringing it up.
The reason why it is haphazardly constructed is because they were trying to take up enough episodes.
Yeah,
Right, which is a
event.
reason, but not a good excuse.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
fight
It's
event,
the issue.
fight
One of the issues I
event.
have with tournament arcs is that a lot of it just seems to be we have to fill what fucking 4 to
Space.
12 episodes, and so we gotta fucking make it work.
Well, I mean, that's why I like My Hero Academia's and also Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh, you're right.
There's a tournament.
Those
already?
ones-
Just because you.
There is.
Yeah, I don't watch it.
Neither one of them feels like filler. On like My Hero speech episode, which was a pool episode, that was definitely filler.
That was a
That one
full
wasn't
episode?
even a filler episode.
Yeah, they
that
went
was a
swimming.
we've been gone for a minute. Here's a
I
recap.
don't even remember.
I think it was the
Oh,
opening to season 4.
I don't think
Oh,
it was in the
okay.
manga, so maybe.
Yeah, I'm about to say I did read most of My Hero before watching the binging the anime fast as possible. I legitimately do not. I can't even imagine half of those characters in swimming apparel.
They had a race.
It didn't happen.
They had a race.
I'm pretty sure
Some of them
Kachad
didn't
wins.
swim.
Let
They
me
raced
please
through
tell
the
me.
pool without
Please tell
swimming.
me that Suyu beat all of their asses.
No.
in the
No.
speed
She
swimming.
lost.
How?
I'm pretty
It
sure
was the
Midoriya
boys.
beat her.
You is frog.
I don't remember. I don't remember her even participating. In the race.
How?
It was just like the
It
dude.
was just a
Woman?
bunch of the boys race.
How,
Yeah, it is
woman?
just
You
the
is
boys.
frog.
First of all, she hasn't raced. Secondly, she would have lost anyways because fucking Kachad never touched the water.
He literally
Kachad
exploded.
didn't touch the water.
Todoroki
Flew across.
froze.
Oh, he did the thing from the obstacle course where he just hovered.
Yeah.
He just kept blasting slightly above.
Of course.
Achan's going to win. He doesn't care. He will win.
Still, this is only an important tangent. This is why I don't like that mother lover. He is totally the kind of person. If we were children in preschool and we were playing with action figures, he would always want to play with the All Might action figure, and he'd always say, "I punch you, boom, you're dead." And
I don't
that's
think
it.
All
No
Might,
matter-
but All Might doesn't kill people. You're dead.
Punch
you
you,
can't talk
boom, you're
anymore.
dead. Right. I don't remember dead people having such.
This is
lit,
dark all night. And then if you got too mouthy, he would actually punch you with his exploding hands.
Boom, boom, boom.
I digress.
Possibly, he would have, especially when he was younger. But you know,
Yes.
Uh,
So this
He's better
particular
now.
show.
He's
This
not.
particular show that I have been wanting to mention, he's
okay, what is happening?
you can hear my hand gesture. He's
I don't know what's
Better.
happening here. I'm
he genuinely
scared.
cares about Midoriya now.
No.
I mean, he generally cares about all
Lies.
my
Oh.
cared about Midoriya.
Oh, we're talking about Bakugo still. I
Yeah,
don't care about him.
I know. So
Okay.
there is a show that I am not sure the three of you have seen.
You don't
And
know
so
me.
I'll ask first: are you familiar with a anime known as World Trigger?
No.
Yes.
Heard the name.
The basic premise is that unfortunately, one in modern day Tokyo, modern day Japan, aliens came out of nowhere and blew everything up. Not everything per se, but blew a lot of things. Blew up, kidnapped a lot of people, very notably, and then hopped right back into their interdimensional portals. What this is the remnants of our society picking up their pieces, rebuilding, and forming an organization known as Border, as their acronym, very Kids Next Door style, where they train all manners of soldiers in order to eventually, of course, protect, very similar like the National Guard, I guess, protect from future disasters in case aliens decide to invade again. They haven't in a while, outside of small little incursions. And more importantly, train some people up to eventually go into those interdimensional portals to those other lands and get their people back. If not incite world war, it's hard to know. The power system gets thoroughly explained, not through just traditional exposition of character, pointing at figures on their chalkboard, but rather through their entire round robin training program that they'll assign every soldier to a team, usually consisted of 4 people at most. And those 3 to 4 people squads gets teleported into a virtual space replicating all of their actual real world technology and abilities to duke it out in combat training. This entire thing, of course, scored and ranked appropriately as how many of the soldiers are given their rank, whether it be from C to S, and appropriate levels of strength based on the weapon usage, their very usage of their apparently naturally ingrained level of energy that each possesses. Some have more than others. All of this as a show, while it takes a long time to get to, hey, we need to deal with these aliens eventually, plot point, focuses about almost 200 of its episodes currently available as this anime on that aforementioned I just said the words combat simulations and combat tournament. It is very much just the tournament arc of anime. One of the things that is always very fascinating about it, however, is the level of choreography that goes into all of it, which is not necessarily the part of a tournament arc that I'm trying to highlight here when I bring up World Trigger as an example. What I am trying to bring up more so is the narrative that's generally explored with all of these characters having the opportunity to meet all of these other side characters that admittedly may or may not last at the end of the show in case a large life or death conflict ends up coming up, as death is still a very real possibility in the show. Those aliens I mentioned before, many of them wield giant monsters that resulted in that economical devastation from the first incursion and actually have the ability. It's not uncommon. Here for this training simulation purposes, of course, this is all virtual and none of the characters are in danger. And so we have a lot of a relatively low stakes environment where we get to see much of this world be explored through interactions between the characters, the locations that they fight in, as many of them randomly generated from real life locations, as well as a in-depth understanding of the power system that also conveniently many of the aliens use. So we have a understanding and general basis for what we can expect characters to do and not do in this setting. It's all very fun. As a tournament, it only serves to give the main kind of tension from our main character, Osamu. He has very little combat ability, very low amounts of energy found even compared to many of the other characters that he pairs with, and generally no combat skill at all, because up until aliens starting to resurface in larger waves since the, I believe, like 5 or so years after that incursion, he now needs to sign up for a military program and become a soldier himself. So he has, unlike most every other people, unlike everyone else, very little combat experience at all. And we get to see the sort of growth of him becoming more skillful and competent using his intelligence and his wit with the limited amount of resources that he has. Eventually, if I'm remembering some pieces from the story of the anime that the anime already covered and the manga correctly, they are indeed preparing their expedition into the through interdimensional portals to those other alien lands to rescue their people. But the main contention of whether or not our main character could actually get there or not was that the expedition is only reserved for the top of A rank and all of S rank, and he needed to grind from C in order to get there. Long-winded, apologies for that. But there were some pretty interesting nuances here that I find effective. So even just something that is not necessarily a structure that ends in a traditional way, like a tournament, of course, ends until all combatants are defeated until one when we're talking about a bracket system. But this one being a point grabbing round robin system and also a team face fighting strategy, I believe offered a lot of uniqueness to this kind of show compared to many other battle focused anime that are for the same demographic. Y'all okay?
Yeah.
Am I
Leave
talking
it.
about something absolutely too alien?
I leave for 3 seconds and come back to dead silence.
Well, it only just went silent.
No, just making sure. No questions, concerns about whether or not what I'm saying is
I would have no way to
or
know.
not just happened to you. You do have no way to know.
I'm
You-
just looking
you
at the
could
anime,
be, like-
and I'm seeing this white-haired dude just like stab a child, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I need
yeah,
to watch
no,
this show.
To
There's
be
a lot of-
honest with you, Thomas, you could be story
are a lot of
testing on
children.
us right now, and I would have no idea.
I'm not. I assure you. No, Shy. Looking at the images, what you're looking at is correct. There are a lot of children, in this military program, and a lot of them do get shot, stabbed. But again, up until the actual combat scenarios that happen in between all of these round robin point gaining matches, sometimes the aliens do come out. Sometimes the aliens do come out and
Oh.
legitimately threaten everything everyone stands for, and some people do legitimately get hurt. But for the most part, all of that yellow stuff you're seeing, that's their virtual bodies getting stabbed and shot.
This is a sword.
That is a sword.
That is a lightsaber that he just stabbed through this poor, unfortunate kid who's not the protagonist.
That is correct. That is correct.
I would say sorry, podcast watchers, but I don't have the image, so sorry to everybody who wants to know what this looks like.
Listen, look up World Trigger yourself. You're gonna find.
I'll put it in here.
You will see what is essentially
Lightsaber.
virtual gold.
They'll come back eventually.
It is quite funny.
But yeah, that's World Trigger.
Got murdered.
He's
Oh,
dead.
he's dead.
That white hair kid that you're looking at, not the main character, but the secondary dual antagonist. Alien. If you can, you probably can't, because I've mentioned before, there are monstrous ones, but like the actual alien, they're just human.
Interesting.
You know?
I mean, that
I
sword
think-
could just be really hot.
It could, if it wasn't made of constructed light.
Pardon?
Yeah, that's what I mentioned about the aforementioned power system. It's energy, just actual,
Is it energy or light?
generally undefined. What they mean, like what kind of energy it is, energy.
Okay. Because light doesn't have mass? Like, that's the thing? That's how it works? It's why it's so fast?
I mean, it looks like a light beam poking out of a chest.
A lot of things
tell you.
look like a light beam, but, like, even fucking, who's it?
A lightsaber.
Yeah, lightsaber is fucking plasma.
Right.
Yeah, plasma.
It,
Deal with it.
it is indeed a solid structure. For your question, it's not made of photons, right?
If no one has any gripes with it, I would kind of like to switch from talking about examples at this point and go into more tropes, advice, and writing them.
Absolutely.
I do have a little thing that's not really a advice, but it's an actual gripe I have with tournament arcs.
Well, that sounds like the perfect thing to start this conversation with.
I don't like how they handle tournament arcs in video games.
What's an example that you're thinking of?
Mortal Kombat, Tekken, Street Fighter, Dead or Alive, all of these are actual official tournaments in their world, and none of them make sense. Mortal Kombat is the biggest problem one. As it comes in, this is the Mortal Kombat tournament. This is 2 teams fighting each other in brackets, but sometimes we may put them up against themselves. There is no brackets. I will say, hey, let's have Reptile fight that hat guy. And I'm just like, how is any of this fair? What is happening here? Why is NetherRealm a part of this? I thought this was to protect Earth Realm. I thought you guys, Outworld, had to win 10 times for you to invade. Yet you could let the other realms join, like the Chaos Realm, the Nether Realm, the Order Realm. Everyone can just join the tournament no matter what. How am I defending myself?
Yes.
Right, if it's a war on all fronts, does it stop until someone has a win streak, or does it stop until all opponent sides are killed? It's giving Tournament of Power, but more messy. From what you're describing.
It's because they have rules, but they don't ever explain them. I don't know. And then we go into the Tekken tournament, where it's, hey, this is a big old tournament. All right, what's the brackets? Who am I fighting? So if I win, I just become the leader of this company? That's
I remember that the tournament of
the prize.
I remember that the tournament of the Iron Tekken died. The head of the Mishima clan, which is almost always why Kazuya and Heihachi, the the son-father duo of the clan, almost always wins.
But here's the thing: there's an actual plot point involved that just confuses me, because I think it's Tekken 4, it's whatever one you have to fight Ogre.
Yeah, that's Tekken 3.
So when Ogre gets beat, it's by Paul. Paul wins, but then he leaves before the actual former Ogre shows up, and Jin beats him. So Jin wins the tournament, and Paul gets nothing.
That's true. That is kind of grimy.
This is actual canon.
That's also just like, if I'm not mistaken, I didn't play this in Tekken 5. Jin's not really a rival, because how can you with a guy that could turn into a devil? How wrong actually defeats Jin in a official tournament setting, but then Jin activates the devil powers. And how wrong's like, come on, dog, we agreed.
Nah.
We talked about this.
Nah,
and then we get another corporation in there with G Corp doing their own thing, because Kazuya's a sore loser. I mean, that did throw him into a volcano. So
now, I gotta admit, Killer Instinct, Dead or Alive seem even more haphazard than many of the other. Dead or Alive, I don't even know what the prize is. Dead or Alive in particular seems the weirdest one of all, because I am exactly familiar with two characters from their own video game series of Ninja Gaiden. So I have no idea what Ryu is doing there.
So someone hosts the Dead or Alive tournament. Normally it's Zach, the weird lanky black guy. Yeah, he's normally the host of these tournaments. I don't know where he gets this money from. And they just fight, and normally someone's doing some weird science thing to Kasumi, who is then cloned once again. Which then leads Ayane, Ryu, and whatever their brother's name is, not Ryu, Kasumi's and Akane's, because they're all siblings and cousins at the same time. It gets weird.
Very much so.
Yeah, and I don't know what's the purpose of the Dead or Alive tournament in lore, but it's here. Anyone can join. It's whatever. I think one of the participants is a Velociraptor. I'm getting confused with Tekken again.
That's Killer Instinct. The Velociraptor.
No. There's a different one with a Velociraptor.
There's a different one with a Velociraptor?
What do you mean there are two fighting games where you can play as Velociraptors?
Okay,
so let's not get crazy, Kaiser. For a tangent, there's a bear, there's a panda, there's two Yoshimitsus from two different games.
There's a kangaroo.
Both named the same. There's a
Kangaroo makes sense.
I already talked about the non-binary. Well, that's a genetic experiment. Has the yin yang symbol in the abdomen kind of guy. Fighters are weird.
And then we get to the Street Fighter tournament.
And for our purposes, and for the transition, many of them, many of the fighting games make the quote unquote tournament a piece of the world building, but at a certain point, it really feels like it never mattered. Which
Like,
to
some
Maurice-
characters are just there, and it's like, look, as a person who played a lot of Tekken, I'm a Dragunov main. He's not important to the story. He's not important at all.
Isn't Dragunov the
This
Bald
mute
dude?
Russian.
yeah? Yeah, I remember him. I was always at Eddie Gordo. I don't know how.
He's there to get shit on. No offense to Eddie. He's
Fair enough.
actually, that's a lie. Eddie ain't there to get shit on. He's Jin's bodyguard. Like how Bruce is Kazuma's bodyguard. And Kuma's Hayachi's bodyguard, even though he's a comic relief bear. That
Why
just
did they-
tells you that he doesn't need
Why
a
do they have
bodyguard.
bodyguards?
Well, because they're trying to kill each other constantly.
Like,
Yeah, they don't need the bodyguards, but look, Jin keeps Jin has Nina
his friends,
and
yeah.
Eddie. Those are his two bodyguards, and they're not his friends.
I know. Jin has a life. You know, he has
While
like, girlfriend
Kazuma,
prospects and shit.
look,
It's
his
so-
friend is Hwang and Zhao Yun,
Yeah.
and that's because they just went to school together. Kazuya has Anna and Brian and Bruce.
Oh lord.
Yes. One's a mercenary, one's actually his friend. I don't know why Bruce hangs out with this man.
I mean, if I'm understanding both Brian and Bruce correctly, they're a little homicidal.
No, Bruce is not. Bruce is actually the nicest one. He's a really good dude. Brian's homicidal.
Yeah. Okay. Then I am my fault, Bruce. I've seen you standing next to Brian, and I was like, oh, I know he's dangerous. What do you do?
Landed.
But yeah, the fighting game tournaments, I'm waiting for one that has a story mode that's just a normal
Hmm.
tournament, or like a tournament with rules like a following the story.
I guess this is a question to ask. This lack of structure, while it does provide one of the things that tournament arcs are really good with, is introducing an overarching villain for various. Do you
I
think
don't agree
that-
with that statement?
Sure. Let me get through this first. Then, Maurice, do you think that one of the reasons why these fighting game versions of the tournaments don't necessarily work is because it doesn't? These fighting games let you play through a lot of the tournament structure with all of the characters throwing any sort of significantly narrative matchups out of balance.
It's more of their story comes kind of second. Like, most of their story works in the arcade mode, where, oh, your character won, here's their personal ending, and they don't give you an actual story. They didn't really start doing that until Mortal Kombat and the later Dead or Alive. Tekken still hasn't done it.
Tekken's like, ah, yes, this Mishima has thrown this.
Yeah, like maybe Tekken 7 has given us a real story. I haven't played it, but I played Tekken 6, I played Tekken Tag 2. There is no real story. You just get bits and pieces of story from the character mode, and only one person has an actual canon ending, and it's normally Jin, because he's the main character.
Right.
I like Raven's story.
Which
Fair enough.
Raven's
I'm
story
assuming normal Raven and not Master Raven.
Yeah. Ninja Man.
Yeah, Master Raven's his teacher, Ninja Woman.
Yeah. I didn't play the one with Master Raven.
Oh yeah, like Mortal Kombat tried, but the last game it just had, it was like, here's one story in, I think it was 10, and here's another story in 11. And 11 rebooted it, the entire series. It was like, okay, and we're done. Reboot. What do you mean reboot? You gave me a reboot faster than DC.
Damn, damn, Mortal Kombat back at it again with the.
This is your
Isn't that-
third reboot.
Isn't that the one where Raiden goes back in time?
No,
Oh, that's the
That-
second one.
That's
Oh,
the yeah.
right.
No, that's the first reboot.
That was the first reboot? I thought there was one before that. Good.
No, see, it's at the end of Alliance. That's when not Alliance. Oh my God, what is it called? Deception. That's when Raiden goes back in time to the new series of Mortal Kombat, and we get to meet like the Cassie Cages and all the other things and the blah blah blahs. But we don't really get to meet them because that's when the next kind of comes. And then this one where Liu Kang becomes a god. Spoiler alert: Liu Kang becomes a god.
Kao Long is screaming with his. Now,
Yeah.
Kaiser. Of course,
Yep.
you had a disagreement with the particular use or ability to set up a villain within a tournament structure. Can you elaborate on?
I think that tournaments are literally the worst section to introduce an overarching villain. I think if you want to have an overarching villain in a tournament arc, you either need to establish them beforehand, or they need to not be involved in the tournament in a physical way. Like, you can introduce them by having them be someone who, like, watches the tournament, but if they're involved, then it's not a good structure to actually introduce them.
Like the Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn.
Yeah, Shao Kahn is introduced as the overarching villain. He doesn't fight. Like, you can fight him at the very end, but he's someone who literally, like, watches and puppet masters for a lot of it. The main bad guy in the Dark Tournament in Yu Yu Hakusho is introduced way, way, way before that. Like, several arcs ago, and then has an arc in the middle. And then we spend most of that time, like, doing backstory on him from a couple of other characters' perspectives. Gara is a soon-to-be friend. The Fairy Tail Sabretooth peoples, those are soon-to-be friends. The only even slight portion of an overarching villain that's introduced is the dragons are also like, hey, fucking there was another black dragon that was also a thing. That guy's evil. He doesn't show up. He's most certainly not in the tournament. Even like the people who could have been an overarching villain, aka Loxus's dad, just gets his ass kicked and that's it.
Right.
Mix.
I don't even think he shows up again for the rest of the series.
I'm pretty sure that man killed him right there.
Loxus, I'm your father. That's a shame. Bang.
Damn, I guess I'm gonna be an orphan.
But if an overarching villain is introduced in a tournament arc, it's really not effective. Because you basically will get,
Oh shit.
like, unless your story has pretty dang low stakes, it just doesn't work as well. Like, you can make it work, but structurally, like, if your protagonist wins against the overarching villain, well, now all their intimidation factor is gone. And if they lose, yeah, they can still have that intimidation factor, but I hope you set up your tournament to where it has no kill rules.
And that the villain actually follow.
I think the one time I really saw it kind of work where they just introduced the villain, Hunter x Hunter. Fucking Hisoka's scary.
Right. In Hunter x Hunter's case, Soka, we meet him in the second portion of the Hunter exam. They have to all hunt each other instead of just doing a, if I'm not mistaken, 3 marathon long sprint through a tunnel. It's quite a lot there. Oh yeah, they were running.
So yeah, Hisoka was introduced in the tournament.
I
He became a
do-
menace ever since.
Yeah, I do want to apologize for misspeaking when it comes the specific keyword of overarching villain. because I did more so specifically mean the idea of introducing some level of adversary that is in some way, shape, or form a threat to our main characters. After all, I would go back to the Dragon Ball Tournament of Power and take up Mr. Spandex Suit over there, Jiren, as our overarching as our intentional antagonist for this section of the story.
So you mean the opposite of an overarching villain?
That's right. I misspoke, but it's fine because I can
You think
hopefully get to what I wanted to.
It's good to have introduce basically villains of the week. I'm sorry
Yes.
to anybody who is triggered by eating sounds.
True. I am very loud.
Well, it's fine if we're talking, but we all sat there waiting for your answer, and we could just very clearly hear you eating, and I was just like, I probably should have said something at that moment. Even just to go munch to make fun of you.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't even. That was
In Dragon Ball.
Man, the rain really just makes you sound like you lose your train of thought, Thomas.
It's evil.
I also just lose my train of thought.
Not this much. Like first of all, the fact that it's cutting you off perfectly is really funny at some points. Because you're just like talking and then you just pause dramatically.
Skill issue, definitely.
This skill issue.
Illusion.
Whose skill though?
But we can move on to what we find.
I'm sure there's other gripes that we have. After all, we talked about at least two. On the idea of sometimes the antagonists introduced are not as threatening.
Well, that's the thing. This would be where we get into talking more, less about specific examples and more on kind of the aspects and tropes of it. Because you're right, it is good for introducing, honestly, like, not overarching villains, but if you have someone who you want to try and introduce as this person is of an equivalent power rating to protagonist or side character, tournaments are very good for that sort of thing. Or if you have just had a character who got a power up, it's another good time to just show, yeah, if this person was equal or a major threat before, they're very much not now. Which is kind of what Fairy Tail did with theirs. Is a lot of people who you would have thought of as major threats to Fairy Tail were just not. For example, Loxus' dad and his entire guild got mixed by Loxus. But also,
Lox is that boy.
yeah. But I think the point that a lot of people miss with that arc is one of the major purposes of that arc was to have you go, look at how powerful everyone is.
They
Now
even
look
both,
at how little that matters if the dragons are here.
all the Dragon Slayers lost their fight. But Natsu, he punched the shit out that dragon.
Yeah.
Broke his spinal cord.
The people whose entire purpose of their magic is to fight and kill dragons don't have the ability to kill fully sized dragons because that shit's hard. And
Especially the ones that just kind of suck because that scissor dragon wasn't really anything.
No. But again, that's the point of the arc, and like even the point of the tournament is just a very long arc to go, hey, shit's powerful. There's a lot of new, very powerful people here. Dragons are better. And we should be really scared about the dragon that killed all the dragons.
I'm more scared about that nigga who beat a dragon. What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
And then, with the My Hero tournament arc, while I have my gripes with it, the point of that tournament isn't power scaling. We learned absolutely nothing new power scaling wise. Everybody is where they honestly should be, and where they kind of set them up to be power wise.
Right.
There were a couple of competitions that we got to see a bit of ingenuity, not a lot. Like the foot race
Uh-oh, now I'm breaking up. Great.
The foot race portion wasn't much. It was essentially to show that part was just to force main character Izuku to do something without his quirk, to once again be like, hey, you remember how Izuku is efficient without his quirk? Yeah, he's efficient without his quirk still. He's a thinking boy. He uses the brain. Look at them folds. Sorry, wrinkles, not folds. The second portion.
Oh, it folded sometimes, especially when you forgot that his legs.
The second portion, like, that was honestly to get us introduced to some more characters.
It served
almost
three
more
different purposes, actually.
Go for it.
It served the purpose of getting Shoto to use fire. It served the purpose of
You're on the third
awakening-
portion.
That is the final step, but
No,
also,
does he use his fire in the
No,
horse race?
no, it doesn't.
no, that's at the very last.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right now.
I'm working backwards, but
Well, I was working forwards.
Oh, y'all about to meet
And
in the
so
middle.
you'll meet in the middle,
meet in
like
the
the
middle.
two jousting knights from in between the lines.
I'll jump back to where you are, and then we'll end at the middle. But crazy people.
Now I'm confused. Where are we?
Introduced
Show me on the
100
map.
different-
I hope we have.
It
I
introduced
hope
a
one day
bunch
we
of
can get a court transcript lady to just try to write all this down, and she's like, "I'm done. I'm taking a coffee break."
I'm leaving.
But yeah, no, as you said, it introduced a lot of different characters. The Class B, and also what's her face, who makes all
Invention
the gear
lady.
gadgets. Yeah.
Which honestly,
my
that
girl.
portion feels like it was the
Hey,
main point of
Hatsune.
that second portion.
But also, which is a huge factor within the entire show and mentioned for recent episodes, spoiler alert, it awakened all of the past users.
Right.
Wake me up. Which is crazy because fucking All Might was there and it was like, I'm not dead.
It's fucking.
The tournament arc is actually one of the most important arcs.
I feel so bad for Shinzo. He was cheated. He had the W.
We'll
I
be
don't
like
even
that.
remember who Shinzo is.
He's the one who mind
Purple-
controlled Midoriya.
Purple
Oh.
dude, mind control is Aizawa Jr.
Yeah, he woke up the
Wake up!
Without
past
him.
users.
Wake up! Wake up!
You wanted to?
Interjections aside.
But yeah, that's the big thing about it. The tournament doesn't actually matter. The tournament is there for the spectacle. The tournament in itself, the winner of it has absolutely no bearing on anything else that happens within the show. The tournament is
Mhm.
there as a structure for My Hero Academia to achieve certain things. And that's how a lot of these tournaments actually get a lot done. And that's something that's a very good thing to keep in mind if you decide you want to write a tournament in your story, is just, what are you trying to do with this? What is, narratively, how is this tournament going to affect the world after it is done? Because having characters fight, it, like any other type of combat, there's a story that needs to be told with the combat, like what has developed with the character, or how is this going to affect them going on in the future. And that's the reason why the tournament in My Hero Academia is as good as it is because people are drastically affected by it, for better or for worse, in all of the future arcs.
Yeah, like Todoroki just start hanging around Deku's neck.
Listen, that choker looks real good on him.
Yes,
Look.
he did in fact catch feelings.
Mhm. And I love to point out that every time, just anytime I'm looking at My Hero Academia and Todoroki is just standing near Deku, not saying anything in the scene when there's a whole conversation going on. It's like, this is mine. Ida, he's just having a conversation with Ida Toroki. Mine.
hmm Something actually very interesting on that point. Honestly, in this, I'm not gonna get nuanced with this example. This is where a lot of sports animes, but the most recent one that I could talk about, Blue Lock, actually does very well. Obviously, in the sports animes, sports is the end all be all, how everything is determined in the world outside of maybe a car accident. So it's not like uh, it doesn't have to run into that pitfall that you're mentioning, that the tournament has to can potentially mean more for the greater universe. Everything is already contained in a sort of tournament like structure anyway. Blue Lock's example does really well because one of the first things that the characters get to do is enter a round robin tournament between 5 whole teams, incorporating a lot of the main and side characters that we'll become familiar with way after 200 manga chapters later. That sets up key relationships in how some of the characters that we first meet in that initial group that our main characters in, and some of the former enemies from the enemy teams all interact with each other and learn to grow off of each other. So I do think it's a very effective thing to do when you're trying to create multiple interpersonal relationships, for an example, as I've tried to list off here in Blue Lock.
Do you know what a tournament, in my opinion, is also good for in a lot of ways?
Yeah, let's hear it.
It's a great time to have your character lose.
Absolutely.
Obviously, some tournaments are done kind of like the Mortal Kombat one, where literally people die. People die when they're killed. But when you have something that happens more in a school, even if it's just something for spectacle, you can have your character get into situations wherein they get into major fights, they get really hurt, but there is something in place to make sure they don't die. It's something that happens a lot in fantasy novels when it gets into, like, tournaments. You don't know what's going to happen to a lot of them. And one of the places that happens is in Game of Thrones, actually. You have things like in House of Dragons, wherein we get introduced to, Daemon, and it's like, look at Daemon, he's such a good fighter, and he's over here. And then he loses.
Except for to be slightly unfair-ish to House of Dragons, in the middle of it, they just start murking each other.
True.
Well, they do that in Game of Thrones, too.
I know, but it's just like, this is not a safe place.
Which means Kaiser hates
place.
these people, because how dare they sanctify, how dare they tarnish the sanctity of a good, clean, honest tournament with their
I'm gonna be a little honest. I was also upset, like, yo, King, stop him.
That's exactly it. It's how we, the black community, feel about rap battles. Don't pull out the strap just because you have whacker bars. Accept your L.
Like, even King Bobby B stopped the mountain from killing the hound.
Thanks, Bobby B. Is there anything else that you wanted to add, Kaiser, before?
Sorry, I trying to get food.
Yeah.
God, this is painful.
Oh no.
Listen.
Tournaments hurt him.
No, it's not tournaments. It's fucking. You know what's a real tournament? Fucking getting food with my siblings. They're fucking impossible.
Gotta get that flow chart, I'm
I
telling
can
you.
hope you can hear me.
I was about to say, I know there's some people who do.
Oh, you only have one sibling, right?
I don't even know if she could hear me. I'm just saying it. May you please remind me what topic I was on, because I got aggravated.
The concept of opportunity for allowing titular characters to.
Right. Because in one of the big things that comes up in every story is narrative tension. If there's, if you've written a 300-page book and there's 200 pages left, and there's fights happening, you have to come up with some sort of way for someone who's reading it to sit there and be like, well, are they gonna be okay? Because I mentioned it earlier, with some tournaments where it's like, it's a fight to the death. We're just sitting there like, all right, well, we're gonna win. like Dragon Ball tried to get around that with the whole Dragon Ball thing of like, the Dragon Balls can bring people back to life, so you never know when someone's gonna die. But then it's also like, who the fuck cares when someone dies? We're just gonna bring them back at the end. Oh no! How terrible! God.
I mean, to be fair, they don't really try to kill people in tournaments, though. Until the doe almost got her head crushed.
I'm talking about tension.
Oh, yeah, that's been going since the first wish.
Precisely. And, I don't think it deserves as much credit as it does for this. But, Game of Thrones, the second they started, they killed Eddard Stark, and then everybody was like, oh, main characters are in danger. And it's like, yeah. But then they kind of only killed, like, 2 more real main characters. But whatever.
I mean, they're mostly out of Starks.
Yes, those are the other 2. I don't accept the idea that Joffrey is the main character.
I don't think
Certainly
he's a Stark
tried to
either.
Joffrey, that's which one was that? Is that the
That's
little
a-
boy?
I
Yeah,
am the
little boy.
king!
Yes, the annoying one.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
True. My sentiments exactly.
And then he died.
Excellent.
Something I really like in tournament arcs is, and this is going to sound very, very basic,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a chance for you to just sit back and watch some really good fights as well. Like, choreograph and cinematography is always going to be great thanks to a deliciously fun tournament arc sometimes. Like, that's where some of the budgets went for at least half the matches.
That is what a visual medium does has over a written medium when it comes to the tournament arc. Like, that's, one of the big things with the Yu Yu Hakusho Dark Tournament. A lot of those fights were fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then, obviously, the easiest one to go to, it's one of the more modern ones, that fucking explosion from Todoroki versus Izuku.
Killed 7 people.
Legitimately,
Can't lie to me.
that picture and the, God, what is his fucking rapid rotation attack called? I have not been able to, is it Howitzer? It's fucking Howitzer,
Beyblade
Kachan's
boy.
Howitzer move.
Yeah.
That one as well. The visuals from that are fucking ridiculous. And the big issue is, I've God, I'm trying to think about it. Choreography in written word versus visual mediums is much harder.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think I'm pretty good at it, but a lot of that comes down to subjective viewpoints. I believe I'm pretty good at it. I believe Maurice would agree with me on that front, but someone else who reads it might just be like, meh, too long. In fact, I wish Roz was here because he could in fact. I can't remember his name. He had a partner who also enjoyed writing, who said that if your fight lasts for more than 3 paragraphs, it's already too long.
Woo. Long fights right there. 3 paragraphs? Damn, someone should be dead by now.
And, when you look at some people like, I write my fights with complete realism. Yeah, they're done in, 3 moves. That's how actual fights go.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I don't know.
Not very
My fist fight,
interesting,
the fist fights I've been in felt longer than 3 moves.
again, yes, but your fist fights didn't have swords involved. Swords are pretty good at ending fights. And I think, actually, there's a channel on YouTube called Sellsword Arts. They do a lot of great just sword choreography things and talking about sword techniques.
And beating up children.
And beating up children. That was an arc that they had. But one of the things that they're very good at is, well, not very good at, a very good point that they had, was they were sitting there and they're like, both types of, overly dramatized and realistic fight scenes in Hollywood both essentially ask you to suspend your disbelief. The over-exaggerated one asks you to, suspend your disbelief because obviously no person in an actual sword fight is able to do, big spins, these massive leaps, these really advanced flourishes. And then with realistic sword fights, your suspension of disbelief is, this is the moves they would do, but it would be over by now. And
That's true.
that's essentially the major difference between the two. But both of them can be extremely entertaining.
Indeed.
I would prefer for more realistic fights, because I think that, oh god, I can't remember their name. I'm gonna have to find their name because of the fact that I think they've got some really cool stuff.
Ooh.
There's a group, I believe they're German, on YouTube who just do, like, hyper-realistic fight scenes. And essentially, they are the prime example of what I would point at.
Is it the two with the long swords?
Yeah.
Okay, I
So-
know which one you're talking about.
Let me see if I can type it.
You keep
Yeah,
talking.
so
I'll get
literally, if you type into YouTube, realistic longsword fights, one of the first one that's going to come up is Adoria Olo Mook. I'm most certainly not saying that right. But,
And he apologizes.
yes, I do apologize. They have several, like, fights that they have choreographed. And they are the prime example of what I would point to be like, look, this is realistic sword moves. These people practice HEMA. This is what they do. These people have been in actual, like, fencing matches. But they have now choreographed an actual fight. And it lasts way longer than it would if these people were actually trying to kill each other. But it's still really entertaining. And it's precisely why, when I watch fight scenes, I will critique people doing stupid ass shit. Or in animes, when someone throws a punch and their fist goes through their opponent's face. Do better than that, especially if they're not going to react. Like, if the fist goes through their face and they actually react, like, oh, I've been punched, fine. But if they don't react at all and it's supposed to be a miss, fight me.
You mean? Oh wait, you mean like the after image?
What do you mean?
Like when they throw a punch, fist goes through face, and then the entire body disappears because they dodged 30 seconds ago.
No, I mean, like, where the fist clips through the person's face, they have no reaction, and they just continue fighting.
Oh, you mean mistakes?
Yes, I do mean mistakes.
Oh, okay.
But also, I don't know how anybody finds the fight scenes in Dragon Ball Z to be that entertaining.
Look, I can't answer that for you as
So-
literal soccer stadium for cheering between Gogeta and Broly.
To piggy the earliest part, the choreography, very compelling parts of such.
Hold on,
Core
are you
part of
saying
it that
the
is related to
choreography? Can you repeat your
breaking up.
question?
Very heavy.
Sorry, my router is currently losing another tournament. It decided to end.
Every time you make these jokes, you are incredibly clear right up until the very end. Start saying your next line and then follow up your line with the joke.
I wish I could. I don't have a control over when it decides to cut me off.
Well, all of that
I'm
came
like-
out perfectly.
I'm kind of like, you know what this is? I'm drowning. I'm drowning. I'm trying to get my head above water. And every time I do, I have either a second or 5 seconds to say what I need to get help.
So far,
But all
you've
of-
had 2 minutes.
Normally, when
glad.
you,
It worked at the most inconvenient time.
I'm
you
glad-
pop your head up above water, say a
I'm
joke,
glad-
and then
yeah,
you start
I'm
saying
glad
it.
that my
This
router-
feels like you're drowning, but you've now stood up to chastise me for making fun of you, and now you're about to
Listen.
lay down again.
That's right. Don't judge me because I'm drowning in the 3 part of the pool, okay?
All right.
I'm drowning, goddammit.
He has
Alright, let's
just
try
the
the
Kraken is
question
wrapped
again.
around his waist, ready to drag him under.
My point is to piggyback off of the phrase of the really impressive choreography. Something related to it that I really like is the unconventional matchups that you can have in a lower stakes setting against friends, in a higher stakes setting even also against friends, and just against various explorations of the various powers you have given your characters in a setting where they don't have to worry about like any other reason to fight. You're doing it for a prize or doing it for the clout. And so now you get to have the more fun part of the matchup of just seeing how powers interact with each other, how skills and abilities interact with each other. And that's always a fascinating watch a tournament.
That is a very, very, very good addition to bring up, is the fact that just there are people who would never fight each other in actual scenarios where major risk of harm would be in place.
Till now.
But now there's tournaments, and if you're doing a tournament, this is the perfect time to have two people who would never actually go for the fucking jugular to actually face off and to show, you know, which one of them is actually more powerful. And a great example of this comes up a lot in, you know, fantasy and sci-fi genres a lot, is having the Lancer actually face off against the protagonist.
I got a bone to pick with you, they say.
Yeah,
They
and
literally all say.
you see a lot of times, like, I could not give you an exact number. There are a number of times that the Lancer actually wins these, because the protagonist, or, the leader, they're technically both protagonists, is just like, my guy, calm down. You're going a little hard, buddy.
That's right.
No. Dronzer, kill him.
Right. They start tying up their hair in the ponytail. You know what's funny? Right before the match starts.
Do you want to
Just
know how
find
you
it
got
funny
those
that-
scars? What does that mean? Yeah!
I just find it funny that it goes for the jugular. Even though you just said they shouldn't be going for the jugular. The Lance is like, I'm gonna go for the jugular.
I'm gonna kill him.
I'm gonna kill him. Yep.
That's a very fun part of all that.
There's a flip side that I wanted to highlight. Same one. Pardon me, Shy. I don't want to you. There was something you wanted to add.
What?
I think that was me.
I was just making sure. There was something that you wanted to add to our conversation, though.
I think that was me.
There he goes. Farewell.
I don't recall anything like that. I was just agreeing with you.
I'm pretty sure it was me that was starting to talk.
Pardon me. Kaiser.
I have forgotten.
Oh no.
I laughed too hard when you
The
were
brain-
like, Shy, you have something to add. I'm like, but it was me though.
I was saying, you've lost your brain
Can
cells. have
you
lost the
repeat
fundamental-
your last statement?
I believe I was making a joke about going for the jugular. I didn't
Right.
actually add anything of value yet.
Let us just continue that.
There's a flip side that I wanted to bring up as a not like with Yaoru,
I'll never know.
Academia.
I know Yaoyorozu, My Hero Academia.
Yeah, sorry, that happened. The flip side of tournaments allow you to see character narrative and from combat perspective. If nothing actually happens, and I don't mean nothing substantial in terms of like they both took it seriously. I mean if actually nothing happens outside of one not being able to really show potential or value, both combat wise or comedic wise, it's a bit of a disappointment. Yaoruzu's whole thing is just we kind of just saw her get beat on for exactly 3.5 minutes of the show. Not really get to do much. Unlike Ochako, who did get to have a substantial strategy executed against her clearly superior opponent. But it still was satisfying. As long as we get to have the characters do something, so to speak. Even the earlier Dragon Ball example that I had with Krillin and the Stinky Man, there was legitimate fighting going on top of the idea that this was supposed to be a more of a gag matchup because we've never seen the Stinky Man before, nor will we ever see him again. But the idea of having fun with also means making the fights themselves feel substantial. However that looks like for you is the part that it's very nondescript, and the part I'm trying to grasp at here. I would hope that with the silence, take it, all of you said.
Yes,
I meant.
we heard you. You broke up in the end, asking if we heard you, but I heard you.
Legitimately, you got to the end and you started saying words, and that's when it really started to break up, and I just started sweating. I was like, I don't know how to answer him anymore.
But yes, we heard you.
I understand. And it was just like, no.
I not only love all of you, but I also love the situation that I happen to be in.
Honestly, there are times that you're talking right now that I'm just like, am I a bad co-host for letting him go on long-winded speeches where he dies periodically?
No, I'm trying to just, pick up the pieces, make sure I get everything. I agree. I just don't really have anything to add except for a slight addition to it of like sometimes some of the characters don't get to fight. I hate when the tournament arc is interrupted with the plot.
Yeah.
Like, can we finish our tournament before this plot kicks in or whatever it was? I want this done before we go on to the next.
If you have a tournament where you're building up tension for having like if Todoroki and Kacchan, like, two people who actively have been being built up to fight each other. Sorry, that was gross. Two people who have been being built up to fight each other in a major way. Just something happened, got interrupted, we didn't get to see them because,
What?
you're trying to leave it as a mystery which one of them is more powerful. Fuck off.
It's just so disappointing.
It is the most unsatisfying conclusion, and I am trying to think of terminology that won't get the
Blue
video
ball.
demonetized. Yeah, I was trying to avoid that one because I don't know if that's allowed on YouTube.
I mean, you already said fuck off.
Yeah, we've already done some curse words. Reese has said quite a few words.
Well,
You can say
But-
blue ball. It's fine.
yeah, don't blue ball me with your fucking tournament. I'm already very mad about being here. Don't make it worse.
I came here for fun people getting their shit kicked in. Whether it's the main character, some of these side characters, or random schmuck over there. Hey, random schmuck. Hey, I'm just here to win some prize money. Well, you ain't.
Hello. That's right. I'm here because I need money for my village.
Well, that's a damn shame. You entered at the wrong time.
Right. Why'd you enter this year? What do you mean? I entered last year. And did you win
No.
last year? No.
No, look at the goats that we bought this time. Looking at some of the people in the Dragon Ball Z tournaments for fun. Because that's why they joined the tournaments in Dragon Ball Z. For fun or for the prize money for 18. Everyone else is just there for fun.
Oh yeah. Also, like as we mentioned before, how kind of unstructured the fighting game was. Why am I fighting animals?
Why am I
And
fighting me?
why do these animals know kung fu? Like that part is also getting me.
Or, my favorite. Why am I fighting me?
Cyborg?
Why am I here? Why am I
Why am
fighting
I-
myself?
Why am I fighting a cyborg? Why am I fighting a demon? Why am I fighting a non-binary, a naked non-binary at that? I feel like they should either get some clothes or that we should talk about, how
Seth
bad this
doesn't
makes me
want
look,
clothes.
or how bad this makes me look for beating the ass. Because I'll do it. I'm just a guy. Johnny Cage is just a guy, yet he has to deal with people from interdimensions that
No,
rip
no, no,
people
no, no,
into
no, no.
4 parts.
Johnny Cage is not a guy. Johnny Cage has some magical green power.
He does have
Striker's
that.
just a guy. Striker is a beat cop who ended up in a tournament against a 4-armed tiger dragon man.
Yeah,
That's his first opponent.
it is quite wild.
He is a guy, and he look. If you see him in a movie, it's like, hey, that's Striker. He's destined to die.
Scripted. The Yamcha.
Like they need a corpse, and you don't see Kung Lao. He's destined to die.
What if it's both striker and together?
Kung Lao may live.
Kung Lao gets a pass.
Maybe.
Maybe. There is
It's
a
like
chance that they both will die. There was in Mortal Kombat X during a random part of the game, literally just during a random part of the story, after all the Earth Realm people were doing great, kicking ass, surviving, Sindel shows up and murders 8 of them in one cutscene.
Thanks, Sindel.
Sindel, what the hell?
Yeah,
You
right.
you just came in here and shoved the high heel into Striker's neck.
Damn.
It shocked me. Luckily, in Mortal Kombat, they stopped being a tournament after the tournament, and it just was in an all-out war.
And
Just
then
people
they
fighting each
invaded
other in
like
the
they
street.
said they wouldn't do.
Hey.
I lied.
Right.
You agreed to
Games are weird.
stay away. I lied.
I lied.
I love. Shy, have you seen that clip?
What?
I gotta send you the clip. There's a clip from the second Force Awakens movie. Not movie, sorry. The Force. Is it The Force Unleashed? The Force Awakens.
Unleashed.
Yeah, because The
Force
Force Awakens
Unleashed.
that is a movie. I was correct. But the Force
Yes.
Unleashed games, the second one, the main character, I'm pretty sure he just got his ass kicked by Darth Vader, and he
That's
looks up at him and he goes, "You agreed to stay away," and Darth Vader just looks at him for a second and then just goes, "I lied, as I
Have you ever
always
seen that-
have."
Have you ever seen that Pepe meme where he's like knocked over on the ground with all this food just
With the,
in front of
the
him?
lunch tray.
He looks exactly like that. And Darth Vader's looking down at him exactly like we would.
You agreed to stay away! I lied.
Darth Vader was spitting.
I just played it for the stream. God, I hope that doesn't get me copyrighted.
I hope not.
It's 6 seconds.
Old-ass
I can't
dirt
imagine
game
that
that
it would.
Star Wars don't even own.
Here, I want to listen to Shy watch this. I've sent it to you.
But
Brief it.
Ornaments.
I have more. I just wanted.
I like his tone.
I lied.
He's very.
the
very
other dude
casual
is
about it.
so like
Yeah.
Dirt.
passionate, and then Vader over here is just like,
I
I
lied.
lied.
What did you expect from
Aw,
me?
did you expect me to tell the truth, champ?
Right. What did you expect?
Head pat.
Really?
Head pat.
Look at me. Of course I lied.
I am legitimately the definition of a villain.
Damn, Annie, you lying out here?
Why
Yeah,
the fuck
that's-
you lying?
He's always lying.
Yes.
Oh my Sheev.
A picture of the fucking dude who used to own them. I used to own Darth Vader. Sure, Grandpa.
Sure, Papa Palpy.
No, the bug guy.
Oh yeah, him. Oh god, what's his name?
I don't fucking care.
It's not Lars. Lars is who she marries.
We'll
Alright,
figure
we
it
don't
out
have time for
later.
anything with that. We're talking about tournaments. The one thing that I think that tournaments are actually really good for, just narratively, sometimes, can in fact just be to have your character show up, make it through a couple of rounds to show they're above, like, a number of people, but then have them go out really early just to have them go through that fucking arc of, fuck, I'm way weaker than I thought I was.
I would say this is something that I've normally my characters go.
It is a very common Lancer thing to essentially bite off more than they could chew and then go through that arc of, I've got to get stronger.
More.
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 But yeah, I think that works really well if you, when you do something like that, especially, if you have them go out early, that can set up a more overarching villain if you want to. Just someone who's ridiculously good and they're just there. A lot of times, though, when you have someone set up like that, it almost works better to have it happen in a universe where tournaments happen pretty often. Like, one of the stories that I'm currently planning for is a new one that is essentially an MMA story, because Maurice wouldn't let me not do one. I was being badgered.
You're gonna do it, and you're gonna like it.
And there's a lot of opportunity within that type of story to do tournaments. Because if you want to look at real life, a lot of groups in MMA do tournament styles. Pride used to have a whole bunch of tournaments. The PFL right now is a tournament-based structure where the winner gets $1 million. Bellator has tournaments. The initial UFCs were just tournaments. And, like, you've got so many, like, storylines that came out of the first couple of UFCs. To give a bit of background, the initial concept of the UFC was honestly done by the Gracie family, because Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if you fight it with a style and you don't know Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the person who knows Jiu-Jitsu wins.
Good times.
You're going to throw something and all of a sudden they're going to have your arm. It's going to be twisted in a weird way. You'll be like, that's weird. And then they're going to twist it a little bit more. And you're like, this is painful. Help. And so in the first two tournaments, they were both won by Royce Gracie, who they even, like, made sure, instead of putting Rorion Gracie, who was the older, larger brother, they put in Royce, who was the smaller of the two. So, like, they were trying to send a message. And this very clear narrative developed between Royce Gracie and Ken Shamrock. Because Ken was, like, this roided out fucking muscle dude who did a bunch of wrestling. He even wrestled in the WWE. He wrestled in Japan with fake wrestling there, but he also did actual wrestling and actual fighting. That's kind of how it worked back then, is some of the fights were real, some of the fights were fake. And you really didn't know until you showed up. And it got to the point that the first super fight in the UFC was just Royce Gracie versus Ken Shamrock again, but they didn't force them to go through a tournament, because at one of the tournaments, Royce won, but his fight took so long that he was too exhausted to continue the tournament because it happened in the same night. And Ken was also tired, and so when Royce pulled out, he's like, I don't even want to fight anybody else, and he just fucking pulled out. And so they just set up the super fight, and the tournaments are one of those things that you can just pull from reality to do. And one of the best things you can do when you're pulling from reality with this one, find dark horses. We mentioned it earlier, we were talking about Rouse. The dark horse of a tournament is a really easy, really fun thing to do. And a lot of times, it's great to have your protagonist be that dark horse. Just, instead of having it come into where, you know, they're like, in the Todoroki situation, where it's like, yeah, they're real powerful, they should probably win this. Have them come in as someone who people are like, no, you literally do not stand a chance. Like, what the fuck do you even mean?
Damn, leave Ash alone. He been trying. He got his W.
Eventually.
To be fair, though, I don't know who the fuck was watching Pokemon going, there's no way Ash stands a single fucking chance.
After the first three, me.
Listen, after the first one,
But
I wasn't like,
recent
Ash
one.
doesn't stand a chance. I was sitting there like, Ash should fucking win, but he's not.
No, the recent one, it was literally, all right, we're going to have Ash go against all these previous champions. Cynthia, Leon, he could beat Diantha. Cynthia, the world's greatest champion, the most dangerous bitch on the planet.
Yo, I'm
Still
gonna
is.
be
one.
I'm gonna be honest with you. From the way that Thomas was talking about at the beginning, they were very much forcing the Dark Horse arc here. And, like, Thomas was literally, like, they did apparently, like, those little, like, power graphs. And
yeah.
Thomas
They had the
came into
JoJo
a call,
Griff.
and like I can't remember if Thomas came into a call or if I came into the call. And the first thing I heard out of Thomas's mouth was, "They did my boy dirty." Because at the beginning of the arc, he said it in like D's, like B, C's, and D's, and everyone else was like S tier.
Like,
You're talking about you're talking about the gas they decided to give.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're a young
no,
up and
that's
comer.
exactly it. That is exactly what happened.
This man been
Uh,
in
But here's the
13
thing.
tournaments.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know why they just didn't let Ash win more often. It was a weird thing for me for the entire time, but it just got to the
Yeah.
point that it was literally the opposite of the normal tournament arc issue, where I'm saying like, all right, come on, we know we're gonna win, let's move on. It was just like, all right, come on, he's gonna lose, just get there.
The question is he going to finally win this one? Top 8, damn.
right.
Top 4, damn.
Something I would like to talk on Pokemon just for a small
No.
moment when it comes to when it comes
I'm kidding,
to
I'm sorry.
the sort of psychological thing that sort of happens. Many people much more experienced than I am in actual competitive tournament scenes of the trading card and competitive battling Pokemon in the video games variety can talk more at length about. Ash's performance throughout the tournament. So not just the tournament arc as a single isolated piece of narration, but as a reoccurring plot structure. A lot of what Ash goes through actually mirrors the sort of journeys that many people would have when entering a serialized set of time vying to become possibly the winner of any given tournament. But as the most recent win to take into consideration the quote unquote world championship. Um, most of Ash's progress is steadily growing, even if there are particular low points over the course of all of the tournaments that he decided to participate in. And it's very fascinating keeping track of those because it does, in a lot of ways, reflect the amount of growth that he does experience over the 1,000 or so episodes of the anime. That's it. There's a period there.
Sorry, I was gonna make a joke, but I decided not to.
Welcome back. You can. I've been
No,
joking all day.
The joke wasn't that funny.
But I will give it though. Pokemon does have some really good tournament arcs. Like I feel those stakes, and I'm like,
Isn't all of
yeah.
Pokemon just a tournament
No.
arc?
no,
No,
His
no.
entire goal is to be the very best that no one ever was.
yeah, but
That's-
you gotta get
that's
to the
the
tournament
song.
first.
That's the song. He never says that. His entire goal as a character is to be Pokemon Master, which, and you may have noticed from various other characters hearing it for the first time, they all immediately go, "What the fuck does that mean?" Because it's a self-made title. And while
With
Ash
that-
does not have the vernacular to describe what he's doing, he is attaining some level of personal self-actualization through a title that doesn't actually exist logistically in the world. This is much different than me saying I want to be the president of the United States, because that's an actual job. That's an occupation that people recognize and would pay me for. Being a Pokemon Master means absolutely nothing to no one else but him, or until the friends that he eventually travels around with, because they're like, you know what, man, you go be that master. That's
I'm gonna be a coordinator master. Okay, hold on, girl. You trying to take my stick?
I'm gonna be a Dragon Master. That is literally
Okay. Stop.
Master of the Dragons.
Get away from me,
So-
girl.
I would love that
One of the-
title.
When it comes to the purpose of actualizing one's dreams or trying to exercise any sort of goal in a more self-help sense, what Ash is doing is he's trying to obtain this particular goal of self actualization through a means that he decided to just get into because he wasn't skilled at it at the very beginning, and just try to get better at Pokemon battling. He feels that this is the best way that he can do it, but he recognizes that it's never been the only way.
It is the only way.
And
Master
that's
of
also
the
something else that I like about tournament arcs in general. When it comes to the characters themselves, the reason why that I'm here for anything anywhere all at once. Sometimes some people aren't there to necessarily win. Their motivations can be multifaceted. joining the tournament. Obviously, winning is very nice because most tournaments involve keeping your life at the very worst, or at least winning some money at the very best. But also, people could be there to be like, I'm here to scout for information. I'm here to bring honor to my family or to myself. I'm here to just say, fuck you in particular, other contestant that I hope I get drafted against. It's always very fun to see these sort of eclectic mix of characters in this situation that is also very controllable with how they're going to interact with each other.
Yeah.
But there are some don'ts in a tournament.
There are a lot of don'ts in tournaments.
All right, Maurice, what's a don't that you got?
Besides the, the main one that I always gotta say, please do not interrupt your tournament with nonsense, aka the plot. The plot will come after. If you were going to just put a plot in the middle of the tournament, why have the tournament at all? Just throw the plot there.
Yeah, no, when you're right, you're right.
Let the tournament finish. Like, even if you want to have the tournament when you put the medal around the neck, the champagne's broken open, boom, bad guys. That would be better than just.
Yeah. I think we've seen that. We've seen both examples, and your do version, literally in Dragon Ball. The tournament where King Piccolo was threatening the universe, he waited to have his minion kill Krillin. Krillin dies after the tournament, not during the tournament. Just nope. Tournament won, Krillin dead.
Yep.
Consequently, then in Dragon Ball Z, we get to yes, tournament happening. Videl gets smacked up in what feels like absolute domestic abuse by a guy named Spopovich, random minion of the actual villain of the arc, and the entire arc gets derailed because Magic Wad of Bubblegum is getting resurrected from all the fighting.
But we did get a great meme from that one. No, don't do it. Calm down.
Calm down. Don't do it.
You just put it with anything. I love.
Yeah. Angry Gohan is never not.
Another one that I kind of think is a really bad thing to do, and this one comes from. It comes from a few animes, but more recent ones that upset me with it is Blue Lock.
Okay. What happened? What's the example we're
Please don't skip matches with side characters, especially ones that you're developing. Let them play out. If you have a match happening and then it's like, oh, they're about to get started, and we go back to the main character, and then we come back and the match is over, I want to punch the main character in the face. I didn't want to see you right now.
Yeah,
that's fair.
tournaments are really good for side characters to shine.
Yeah.
So let them shine a bit.
I mentioned a little earlier, like matches that don't have any level of spectacle, narrative, seriously, even the more comedic sense. Pokemon actually gives me an example of that ties into another don't that comes with the overarching antagonist, if I will call it that, the one that everyone wants to beat, the high horse, as I'll call him. In the Pokemon World Tournament, the most recent one that I can, the one to beat is the one listed as the current world champ, #1 of the world, Leon. But the problem is he keeps beating everybody with 1 or 2 out of his 6 Pokemon, and it's the
Off
same 1 and
screen.
2.
Off screen, by the way.
Sometimes off screen, oftentimes it literally is even if we match where all of an opponent's Pokemon are knocked out, it is Leon's just using the 1 or the 2. It's never, we have no mystery. There's a lot of mystery and surprise hidden behind what the rest of his Pokemon are. And even while I was watching it week to week, I kept thinking that there's a better execution of that. It is perfectly fine for your main threat, if you want to call him that, if you want to call any of your antagonists that if you want to have a surprise factor for them, it's fine. The danger lies in not bringing something new about them with all of their matches prior to the one that you presumably want to have with the protagonist.
I'll be
If the
honest.
antagonist has 3 surprises, remember what those surprises look like. Have the first one be used against, I don't know, the Lancer character. Have the second one used against the love interest. Now the protagonist all riled up, like, ooh, I like that person. I didn't like the other person you beat up. I was fine with that one,
Ooh.
but ooh, I like this one. How dare you do that to this one? I'm gonna fight you now, and then you save another surprise. Always keep something in the pocket so that the antagonist remains interesting, remains some level of mysterious, and that can add to the spectacle of the fight itself. But if you hold all of the secrets back and then unleash them all on the protagonist or in just one fight, it feels cheap, undeserved, and not as exciting as it could.
I'll be honest. The only reason why he only had to use 2 Pokemon is because he didn't go up against Cynthia. Cynthia would have whooped that ass.
I don't know about that, y'all.
Look, Cynthia would have. No, he would have had to use all 6. It would have been a fucking. The
Leon
budget
had
would have
a,
been gone.
Leon had a monkey. Leon had a monkey that was knocking out 4 Pokemon straight.
Get curb
Unheard
stomped.
of. Unheard of.
Cynthia was gonna beat that ass.
I don't know about that.
I need to see this. I need to host my
She's
own. So I gotta get
she's
some
listed.
computers.
Listen, dog. She's listed number 2 as a reason. She could.
They were biased. This was in their home.
biased. Listen, they
Yeah.
grinded. They grinded to be up there.
They,
I told you it's a round robin system.
look.
Ash had the
Leon
ability
was
to get to number
great,
8.
but the tournament, the hosts, the announcers, they were all biased for Leon. They ain't do no research really. It was just all Leon.
This Pokemon the show doesn't make a whole lot of sense in terms of Pokemon. Pikachu fought God.
Hey, that's right. And
Look, God ain't
do
strong.
it again. That's right. God ain't run them hands, Pika.
I beat God.
I was saying the games. Yeah, I was saying the games just let us catch God very easily. Actually,
Shit, I beat Ash too.
that is the thing. I like every match should offer some level of entertainment, and in congruence with that, if a character has secrets, whether it be the antagonist, whether it be a side character, whether it be the protagonist themselves, have that list of surprises, or even just the one surprise, be used in a cathartic manner. Something that offers us some level of maybe shock and awe, but also feels well placed.
Another thing, if you're gonna do a deathmatch style tournament, even though we know our protagonist has to live because you ain't killing them, you don't have a replacement at the moment. Make sure something's at stake. Like make it look like that man could lose an eye or get his arm cut off or something. Like these people be coming out unscathed in these deathmatch tournaments. Like, oh, I've been beaten up. I mean, look, someone's gonna take your eye. Y'all trying to actually kill each other. You're gonna be more than beaten up.
True.
Like, I want to see some teeth knocked out.
I feel like. Sorry, please finish your.
Like, here's a tournament that no one has brought up because I don't know how many people watched it. Kengan Ashura. Our boy, his name isn't Kengan or Ashura's. I cannot remember his name at the moment, but he does not come out of these tournament matches unscathed. At the end of all of it, he comes out with a heart condition. This man is about to die.
That makes sense.
Because these tournaments, and like these aren't even to the death. It's just that these people that they hire for these, this is corporation versus corporation trying to win a fighting tournament for business reasons. So Walt Disney, Rite Aid, all these big old corporations are there. They're not the real names, but you get it. And one of them got Oma. That's his name, Oma. And Oma, beast. But someone got this little kid named Cosmo. Yeah, he's not a little kid. He's like 21, so he's a little baby to me. Cosmo choked the man out so hard he had a whole match in his brain. He thought he won. That's how hard he got choked out.
That's not
He
how
had a
that works.
vision of him winning. It was.
That's not how that works at all.
Look, this
Made
is
it work.
Baki levels of crazy.
Oh yeah, you would.
Just
probably-
less.
You would unironically roll your eyes and
I'm gonna assume the word that we lost there was guffaw.
maybe
Good fuck.
if Gaffa and Cringe are is
Like,
To guffaw is basically to do that, like, that rich person just, oh! Like the gasp and like, no.
I was like, I think there was a whole action there and maybe some sound effects, but I couldn't
Yeah,
hear anything from you.
Luckily, I have OBS up, and so I can see myself move whenever I can be heard on Discord. The stream heard me, but you guys aren't in the stream.
we're blind. I mean deaf. Blind with our ears.
Playing
Blef.
with our ears.
Shy, did you have any particular icks?
I first,
Don't.
I can only speak on what I personally enjoy, and
Hmm.
I honestly don't particularly care for different matchups or just fighting in a general sense. I
Mhm.
need a purpose at all times.
Yes.
Disagree with Mari's statement of having the plot interrupt. Yeah, no, go for it.
Never. How could you?
So here's the
I
thing.
see.
Yeah.
If Solana is what you, as a writer, are accomplishing what you are wanting to accomplish, then it's gonna be a good story.
That's not true at all. I've seen the reviews for Empress Teresa.
We don't bring that up here.
We might summon him.
If we bring it up too much, we'll become one of those channels that's only allowed to talk about one thing. And
Right, that's
I will
better
be
for
dead in
YouTube
hell
algorithm.
before I become a channel that only talks about Empress Teresa.
I mean, the more you say it, the more likely it's gonna happen.
No.
She's a good girl.
It does work better for the YouTube algorithm. Just saying.
I refuse. Though right now we do kind of need to do something about the algorithm. But yeah, for me personally, I agree with both Maurice and with Shy.
Possibly.
I agree with you guys on different things. I don't think that the plot should interrupt the tournament, because I don't think you should have a tournament without it affecting the plot. If you want to fight, to have people fight, send your characters to a bar. There are a million ways that you can have your characters fight. Don't be lazy about it. If you're going to have an arc, have a plan. What are you trying to accomplish with the arc? There should be something narratively that you are setting up, you are getting a payoff, you are establishing the world with your tournament. You are essentially, the fans always talk about who is the strongest. Let's look at superheroes. The only thing anybody ever talks about with superheroes is, well, could X person beat X person?
They actually do have a tournament arc in Marvel.
I'm
for the
so
Contest of
unsurprised.
Champions.
And that's the thing. It's what people care about. And so you can have this tournament to literally be like, yes, this is essentially the power rankings. Congratulations. You now have your direct answer. But
Those
you
are for
need to make
charity
sure you're
work.
doing something with the plot around it. Why are you establishing a distinct, this is where the power rankings are at. These are where people this is how people match up against each other. On a different note, one thing that is very important to remember is with those power rankings, do not just be like, well, this person is the strongest, so they're going to win. Look at the matchups. There are some fights that even if someone is the most powerful, they might not win. It isn't just this isn't Dragon Ball Z. It is not entirely power levels. It, looking at it, like, I've got the arc pulled up. Bakugo, who was the winner of the entire tournament, if Bakugo had gone against Mr. Mind Control, he would have lost.
He was out.
Yeah.
He was out.
Most of them would have lost.
Every
Almost
one
all.
of them was, man,
The
cheated.
only one that was able to win is Midoriya because he cheated. But
Yeah, the outside help.
Judge.
Ref.
Judge. That's good.
Cheated.
So long as, what's his bucket? Lightning Boy? Shinjiro?
Danky.
Nope.
Danky. If Danky had gone against him and from long distance zapped him and fucking knocked him the fuck out because he only has mind control and that he's a normal dude, it's over.
Yeah.
Bakugo would have won.
Except for
because
Denki's an
Bakugo wouldn't
idiot.
talk to him. But
No,
that's
Bakugo would have
besides the point.
immediately started talking
100%.
shit. Like, really? A support course person? This is easy. And then he would have been out of the fucking...
Yeah, but he would have answered a question. He doesn't
Yes, he
care.
would.
He should be like, die.
So how do you feel
Yeah,
about...
like-
Exactly! He would have said
all
die!
you need to- yeah. He would have just all you need to do is respond. You don't even need an actual coherent answer to the question. You just need to respond to the question, which is
I
exactly
thought it
what
was
he
an
would do.
answer to a question.
Nope.
I forget.
No.
It's been a while.
Yeah, you just
He's
open your
cheating.
mouth. Right, you just open your mouth and you're caught in the web, stuck in the middle.
There's only sometimes where I think the matchups don't matter, and it's
So
you
Shoto
know
would have been fine.
when they have those
True.
ridiculously powerful like number ones.
Yeah, if
Like
you
in,
have that, though, I honestly...
The red versus blue Project Freelancer. It's a known fact none of the other freelancers could beat Agent Carolina, even together.
I think that's poorly written then if you're having her inside of the arc.
Well, the thing is, they didn't have a tournament arc, they had a ranking board. But she was number one for the longest until Texas showed up, who was more powerful than her.
That's boring.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, when you have, like, I'll be honest, All Might bored the shit out of me for most of his existence.
Yes.
Like, without All for One, fucking, he was boring. His fight with the Nomu was cool, looked great, but the only reason why he was even under threat was because of the fact that he had already used up his time. Outside of that, it's just like, yeah, he's just gonna win. And then after that arc, where it's just like, I'm just gonna go beyond. It's like, oh, okay, so the limiting factor isn't a limiting factor. Cool, good to know.
Nope, plus Ultra. Literally the main thing of the show. Go beyond.
That's my hero, though. It's like, the limiting factor, screw that noise. I made a new look.
Here's the thing, for the majority of the show, that isn't true. You can go beyond,
Plus Ultra, baby.
but
Go beyond.
you can't go beyond what your limiting factor is. Fucking Bakugo can't just go, I'm gonna go beyond, and then do an even bigger blast that breaks his arms, and it just not break his arms.
Yes, he will. 100%. Yes, he will.
But he'll still break his arms, though.
No, he will not.
What do you mean?
Literally, that explosion that he did against Uraraka was supposed to be past his limit. Like, that was the biggest explosion he did without storing them up in his gauntlets. And those gauntlets are bracers to not break his arms.
Yeah,
That
the whole show is
barehanded-
all about going past your limits all the time.
Yeah, that's...
Ultra.
by the way, just to put this out there, terrible message. Don't do that.
Break your body, win the day.
Legitimately,
Yeah.
Midoriya is like a fitness
Literally,
person's
almost sacrifice
nightmare.
yourself.
Yeah.
Almost sacrifice yourself for the sake of.
Which is why the
Oh.
show continues to say, "Hey, Midoriya, stop! For the
I'm gonna
love of
break my-
God!"
I'm gonna
Now-
break my broken thumb to get another shot off.
That's right.
He one time broke his tongue. Like,
Yeah, one of the fascinating things about My Hero is the particular thing of like protagonists are supposed to have something that many of the other characters do not, some defining feature that hopefully helps justify why they were given, the role they were at eventually saving the world or some shit. In Midoriya's case, it's not that he's more heroic than anyone, it's that he's wildly self-sacrificial to the point that he probably should have been dead, but we just keep bringing him back. Of course, this is part of what like the current anime is trying to focus on trying to realize with the uh, eventual contact he'll have with all of the classmates at UA. But uh, you even see the signs of it before, right? The fact that he's willing to throw himself in the that he logistically can't actually help in because that's the right thing to do. That is what he believes being a hero is. We don't necessarily see an example of it in the tournament arc, however. Technically, just
Yes, we
the
do.
idea of telling Todoroki to use his abilities is much more of a thing of like he's not gonna die if Todoroki uses abilities, but he's like, I
But he's
refuse to
willing
let
to
somebody.
break his body.
He is willing to break his body to do it, but it's also the thing of like I refuse to let somebody be here, be sad that they have superpowers, and I over here a goddamn scarecrow. Best thing I could do is wrap my
They
arms
all
like a
thought
fucking
that they
inflatable
were
tube,
gonna
man.
die.
Like he could have knocked him out earlier, but instead he wanted to have this conversation. So all my fingers and my right arm got to go, plus both my legs. I'm
Yep.
just not gonna have a body by the time we're done with this. I'm glad I have not destroyed my ribs by doing a United States of chest
Not
pump.
gonna lie,
I would find a way.
but Midoriya would concern me. I'd look at him
Look,
and like,
I'm honestly
not
happy
sure if
he
we
did
should put a
not
bubble over you.
like. Remember, he can use his limbs, his arms, his legs. This man's going to think I can headbutt him. Midoriya, no, 100%
Yeah.
did just domed himself. The bad guys did too, but but yeah, not too many do's and don'ts in the tournament arc. You just like the rest of your story. You have to make it interesting. It has to be pretty good written. And you just gotta have fun sometimes. You gotta have fun with it. Even if it's very dark, sad, and depressing. The writer probably had fun.
I would hope so. Certainly hope so.
Like the entire story I'm writing. Team deathmatch, big old tournament. That's all it is.
Yeah. Actually, I do particularly love this kind of section. That Marius, can you tell me a little bit about team deathmatch? What what parts of the tournament arc are you leveraging for your storytelling purposes?
I am leveraging the so it's more of the you follow one team throughout the entire thing, but I like the replacement system. So, because it's a team deathmatch, people are going to die. The question is, like, instead of having, oh, this is our main character. No, this team is our main character. Will we have all the original members by the end? Who knows? It's going to have to, find out.
Find out
Well,
next time on Team Deathmatch. Dun, 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 dun.
But people will die, and people will take their place.
He's also flippant about it. Is just some of them will die. And that
Yes,
is a sacrifice I am willing to make.
that is how the host feels about it. Yes. And the fun part is the matches are pretty much in their time once a week. So on the same day, like pretty much every Sunday, they will be put in a 6v6 until only one team is left alive. And then they will have 6 days to do whatever they want, which is then why I had to add an area for you to meet other teams and not allow them to fight each other to the death, which is where the bazaar will be, where, oh, look, you walk outside. Oh, there's other teams. Why would you do that? Because there's shops where you can use the winnings from your match to buy items that you can bring into the match. Now, no one says you have to talk to other people, but let's say you don't want to cook, or you have to buy food, or you have to do other things. There's so many things to do. And that's the main point. Maybe you'll find someone you know. Hopefully, you don't have to fight them in a match. Maybe you do. Maybe I'm a sick individual.
Okay. Now, Kaiser,
Kaiser?
You cut off at the word Kaiser.
Oh, you're
classic.
so gone.
Ah, in the ether.
We heard
Don't
in
mind
the ether.
me.
You're
No,
returning.
you
Yeah.
had a question. What's your question?
Let us start the closing remarks.
But
That
what
was
was
my
your question
question.
for
How was
me?
it?
I
Do you
don't.
have anything?
I don't like the
Do you
idea.
have anything left to add in our closing remarks?
I'm writing 3 different tournaments.
It's a lot of tournaments, man.
Yeah. Technically 4.
I'm sorry, the
Okay.
contrast of Kaiser coming in here. I don't really like tournament arcs. I'm writing
writing
That's
for
three
not
of
what I said. I said most tournament arcs are garbage.
Except his 4.
Yeah, my four
It's
will
Nah,
be
2 of them are
great.
probably garbage.
They're gonna be the greatest things of all time.
Why do you guys talk about
Delicioso.
me talking about my writing as though I think I'm the greatest thing since fucking...
I just like making fun of you. Don't
So,
mind
you know
it.
what, that's it. You guys talk
know
about it
that-
as
we
though I
know
think
you-
I'm the greatest thing since fucking.
We know you have the exact opposite sentimentality. We know that they're probably subpar, like all the other tournaments.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna be writing garbage, and we're over here like, man, I'm gonna write the greatest tournaments of all time because I'm the greatest writer of all time. No one can say anything
That's just you,
otherwise.
Maurice.
No.
All right.
No, that's what Kaiser
That-
sounds like. Kaiser says I'm the greatest of all time. Look, see this right here. This is Doom. This is garbage. Now let me show you some real good shit. In
You
all
had
honesty,
me
yes,
until the
Doom is
second half.
garbage.
We agreed to avoid this.
Well, okay. I think Doom is shit. It's boring. I hate it. I think it has a tournament arc.
Its course
It
is
does-
rough and it gets everywhere.
Technically not. There's a tournament in it though.
Ooh. Tournament.
Shy. Any final points?
I think we hit most of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything is also going to be individualized, so I'm only talking about what I enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
but
That's why we have you.
yeah.
We appreciate your opinion.
In the end,
Does even matter?
make things, do what you like.
Yeah.
and
That's facts.
everything will work out.
As Maurice loved to correct me on, even though I never said it wasn't, it's all in the execution. Even bad ideas can be done well. Maurice, anything else?
If you ever have the opportunity to write a story for a fighting game, make sense of the tournament arc. It's all I want. I just need to understand the fucking rules of this tournament and the match brackets and things like that. Why am I in Egypt one day and the next day I'm fighting? How did I get here? Why do I have to fight E Honda in the bathhouse? What is this? Why am I here? Explain it to me.
If you're
Why am
writing
I
a fighting
fighting people
game-
off a cliff?
Do better. They make no sense.
Clearly, you know,
I love the stages, but
Maurice is
why?
just looking
Explain
structure.
them to me.
right. Just looking for a little hand. It's a simple brochure. Brochure to
Right.
the game. So that
Like
Maurice
in-
can follow where we're going.
Sure, bro.
Like Mortal Kombat fixed it by completely removing the tournament aspect. You didn't fix anything. You just took away the main point of the game.
You just made a D&D campaign. Gosh darn you.
That's pretty much
Full
what
of
they did.
everybody's kids.
And you know, I didn't even hate the story. Was it great? Of course not.
And a guy named Kotal Khan, who is the most underwhelming person I've met in my life.
Yo, I don't know how that man became Khan. He's trash. He got beaten up twice and he's crippled now. No offense to crippled people out there, but how do you and you are supposed to be Kotal Khan? You are a Khan. You are the ruler of Outworld. How did you lose to a dude with a bow who I don't care about? And I had to play him. Why did you just submitted to yourself to die so I can become the ruler of Outworld? And I was like, nah, nigga, you suck. That was so sad. Like if you actually play his character, he has one of the coolest concepts out there. An Aztec sun deity halfway, where he can turn into a puma, he can summon beams of light, and he got that fucking sawtooth shark tooth sword. And it's like, yo, that's banging.
I felt real bad beating them down. I was like,
also his girlfriend's Jade.
This feels racist.
Like I felt so
This feels targeted and prejudiced, but nope.
And then
he
like
all that rah-rah. He challenged us to combat, much like how the very powerful people will lose to. It's the thing of like the suspension of disbelief. A very powerful individual will lose to a very weak individual, and it's not even clever.
It shouldn't
have
happened.
Happens.
The king should not have lost to the man with the bow stick. We should have been playing as him, and we should have just beat up Kung Jin and then just went on about our day. It would have made sense. You could have just had us switch controllers for like one match because he should have lost. But no. Then we get like other games like the multiple endings in Tekken and Street Fighter and things, especially the Tekken ones, because some of them is just weird sometimes.
Yep.
Like, have you ever won where?
Wait, hold on, Maurice.
Yeah.
I want to save this for after. Kaiser, you've already said your closing remarks. I'd like to give mine. Tournaments are very fun. I mentioned, not at the top of this, but in a conversation that we had the other day, that the very idea of a tournament structure actually pulls from the same cultural zeitgeist understanding that we have school setting. It's an easy way for many of us to understand the sort of and have grounded expectations of what we could generally kind of see, because most of the tournament arcs that even we discussed today, and many that I'm sure you're thinking of yourselves, have a lot of those similarities, have a lot of those same plot beats. Same goes for the school setting. We generally know the kinds of situations and stakes that a group of characters will undergo in this very similar setting. And one of the only pieces of real entertainment that comes out of these mutually understandable settings is how the characters act within them. How does your character, who maybe is a little bit of a hobo, does under a tournament where the only way to win is by ring knockout, not even actual knockout? How does it feel when this lovable and understandable goofy character gets the brakes beaten off of them because their opponent is taking this much more seriously and is much more competent in their abilities? These kinds of questions get answered and are presented thanks to the tournament arcs, and then more so in part by how you want to leverage this setting to your advantage, much like with any other setting. I wish you the best, that kind of thing, and I believe we have all made our peace. I would like to say, go make some.
Go make something.